Dear participants, we will start our session within 5. Assalamu alaikum, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Raisa Bibi, Manager Marketing and Communications at AlHuda Center of Modesty Fashion. I would like to warmly welcome you all in today's Modesty Fashion Forum that is organized by AlHuda Center of Modesty Fashion. Let me give you a brief introduction of our center, then we will start our session properly. AlHuda Center of Modesty Fashion has been operating internationally since 2019. It is a sister concern of AlHuda Saib and Halal Research Council. Our aim is to globalize the idea of humble style, or you can say modest fashion, from past strict convenience. We are providing a wide range of services that incorporate education and capacity building, advisory and consultancy, research and development, publications and events. Through the foundation of AlHuda Center of Islamic Banking, we are well perceived in more than 100 nations globally. Now we are going to start our inaugural session with our chief guest, Mr. Ehsin Awad from Turkey. He is a Secretary General of CIMIC. He is a brilliant man with excellent and extraordinary skills. Mr. Ehsin Awad is graduated from Anarka University, and he began to work at the Turkish Standard Institution at the Department of Bilateral and Multilateral Agreements. Following his successful tenure as the director of several directorates, Ehsin Awad was appointed as the head of training department of TSE. While he was assuming his duties as the head of training department, he was elected as the Secretary General of Standards of Metrology Institute for the Islamic countries. And during his term in CIMIC and under his leadership, various projects and tasks have been successfully accomplished, including the restructuring of the institute assessment system, OIC global halal quality infrastructure, improving technical infrastructure of CIMIC, as well as making CIMIC technical committee more active and more professional. Very warm welcome to you, Mr. Ehsin Awad. Your availability is honorable to us, and please share your expertise about modest fashion.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Shall I start?
Yes, sir, you can start.
Okay, I couldn't hear well. Sorry, thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Distinguished participants, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is indeed a privilege for me to attend this important forum and have the opportunity to deliver Modesty within the presence of distinguished speakers and attendees. The esteemed participants, as we all know, halal is our sure value, and ensuring halal is the responsibility of all Muslims. Under CIMIC establishment that also means for a decade, we have been working really hard to develop standards according to the needs of our members and the industry. We aim to protect the integrity of halal with the existing trustworthy certification and accreditation system conforming to the two OIC CIMIC standards. CIMIC as an intergovernmental organization and if affiliated to the OIC has been great struggle to develop standards with high quality. As a result of our hard work and commitment of our members, we have published 16 halal standards from a total of 41 standards, including halal food, halal certification, accreditation, halal cosmetic, halal tourism, halal supply chain, halal food additives, halal management system, edible gelatin, as well as halal conformity assessment. Dear brothers and sisters, having expanded to all aspects of lives, has a big impact on the global market. This brings along many responsibilities for the relevant actors of halal industry. Hence, we need standards for uniformity, metrology, for accuracy and patient guarantee. Halalness is like a science that cannot be considered separately from standardization. So we need professional framework for all respects of halal to have a reliable system. Distinguished participants, within CIMIC, we see halal standard as technical documents, which include Islamic rules. I want to emphasize that our standards are not the product of one country, or our standard do not reflect fatwas of a group or a region. Our standards do not block trade among countries. CIMIC has professional organization structure, having organs for all necessary, especially technical issues. So with its 45 member states, our institute has been doing as part to develop unified standard by seeing halal as a technical, serious issues, and by putting great efforts to publish high quality standard for everyone's use. In this regard, I'm grateful for support that we receive from our partners, the stakeholders. I would like to thank the organizers for their kind invitation, and special thanks to AlHuda Center for this very important initiative. They are organized several times in different countries, especially in Dubai. My special thanks to brother Zubair Mobile for his efforts and support him every time. He's also with us. Thanks for the all participants and listeners. I hope these sessions will be benefit to all the Muslims and friends. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Mr. Istinowal, for your incredible knowledge and information. We additionally like your accessibility in our gathering. And this is honorable to us. Thank you very much. And now let me introduce our next honorable speaker, Ms. Franca Suiria. And he's a great lady in modest fashion and creative expert and the co-founder of Marca Mary. She is also a co-founder of Council of Modest Fashion, that is a non-profit organization with the other modest fashion experts from different parts of the world, like Russia, Africa, Asia, Europe, Middle East. Council of Modest Fashion advised many projects and events globally. Council of Modest Fashions are mentioned in many publications, including Global Islamic Economy Report. She is also a consultant and advisor. She helps designers and brands to create brands and elevate their brand's presence. She is a consultant for fashion events like Indonesia Fashion Week, Muslim Fashion Festival, the Gate Indonesia World Hijab Day in 5 countries, and many more. She is also involved in special projects like co-created Modest Fashion Founders Fund with Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy Indonesia. A very warm welcome, Ms. Pranka. Please share your knowledge and your expertise about modest fashion. Now the floor is yours. You can share your screen and start your presentation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for inviting me here. AlHuda, Center of Modest Fashion. Reza, I appreciate so much for the initiative. Today I will share you a little bit about modest fashion, how to grow the industry better. So actually, okay, let's start. So I have been in modest fashion before it's this big actually. I start myself as a journalist in Indonesia, then started to focus on modest fashion because there are a lot of talents. I witnessed a lot, and then I started to involved with fashion, and then so many things, and then I moved to Turkey, and then we create a lot of things over there, and then come back over here. So what I'm trying to do is to connect the industry, connect the dots. Let's see what happened actually. So right now, modest fashion is so much developed, so well developed right now. In the past, we are not accepted as fashion style. Right now, everyone is already accept modest fashion, and then it's become famous. You know, the struggle before 2015, it's very hard. People still see modest fashion as traditional, and it's not really considered as fashion. Right now it's already also connected worldwide, and modest fashion influencing mainstream fashion trends. What we offer actually, we offer a new style that women can look nice with covered style, and it's not only for Muslim, it's for everyone. And then we package it very modern in a proper way, in an international way, and then the mainstream people started to accept that. So what happened? Right now, everyone is looking at modest fashion as the new market to dig in. So in the moment where fashion is very much crowded, people or the entrepreneurs started to see like new market to dig in. And then when they see modest fashion is a niche market where actually the consumer is very much heavily easily influenced by the communities. So there is loyalty over there. So modest fashion itself as an industry, we already have the loyal customer over there. So in a marketing thing, it's a good market to dig in. So now everyone is already looking at modest fashion. We already get the attention. But actually, what is the effect? What I can say now is it's kind of overcrowded market. Like especially like in some countries like right now we don't only talk about designers or brands. Now even the manufacturer, they started to produce by themselves. They have their own brand, and mainstream brands also want to tap in the market. So everyone is doing modest fashion, and also the event is the same. I see it's pretty much very crowded market at this moment. And what I'm worried is it will be considered only as a trend, because right now it's very booming. If it's modest fashion, it's trendy, it's fashion, it's cool. And then what happened usually after it reached the peak, then it's maybe in the future people will say it's no longer as a trend. It means it's something old. So this is the thing that we need to what is that? We need to make sure it won't happen. So it has to be we need to build it as a firm industry, which is not only as a trend, not only one time. And the modest fashion brands cannot compete well with mainstream players who do modest fashion right now. because for a long time we have been speaking that modest fashion is a billion-dollar industry, everyone wants to do modest fashion, including mainstream brands. Mainstream players, they can produce their products cheaper because they produce in quantity and everything, and they have maybe a lot of distribution channels. So they are stronger in that part. And then it makes the one who's actually really do modest fashion, the one who started before, cannot compete well. So also people just see sometimes what I see sometimes now, modest fashion is only seen as the new market. Is it a new market to begin? Let's do modest fashion because what? Because it's a trend, because it brings money. So all the attention to modest fashion is actually kind of creating this. So where is actually to go from here? What should we do? So what I think for a long time, we have been trying to get attention from the mainstream fashion, by doing viral things, all the things, the glitz and glam. And now everyone is here already, but actually when you see the industry, there's a lot of things needs to be done. There's a lot of foundation needs to be done. So for example, maybe you should know that modest fashion brands, most of them are SME, they're small medium enterprise. They don't know how to scale up, for example. They don't know how to distribute their products better, or even just sourcing, those kind of fundamental things that we need to do. So for example, what I try to do is I try to connect modest fashion brands to investors. So investors doesn't really trust the modest fashion industry because they don't know. They just familiar investing in startups and those kind of thing. So what we do is we curate the brands and then we prepare them to do the pitch and everything, and then we help them and then we present them properly. And then what happened is actually we kind of create like a good communication between these two industry, finance and models, and then in the end they can collaborate and it makes the brand stronger. And also it's so important to do collaboration over competition. Collaboration is very important. It's no longer time to, for example, claiming to be the first, to be the best, to be this one. I think it's over that time. I think right now, especially in this pandemic, we need to do collaboration more. This forum is one of them. Like why I'm happy, I see the good collaboration energy over here. So because pandemic, it's hard for everyone. I heard a lot of stories. The brands are dying, and then they need help. I give a lot of free consultancy to the brands to help them. It's very much important. So now it's no longer time to try to be the most famous or the best, whatever. Now I think the idea that we need to strengthen is more about collaboration. We are together. This industry is ours. It's famous now, yes, it's famous. Everyone wants to do, but how to make this industry better? Because don't let this industry to be just in the end just another field as a capitalist industry. Again, we need to make it different. And then how to give the brands and designers better voice out there. For example, okay, modest fashion is famous, yes, like influencers or something. Some of them, they got recognized, yes. But when you talk about designers or brands, which designers or brands are raising after this trend? Which one is getting stronger? Who are they? Who is known globally? How many of them? Can you count them? So actually, if you talk about the world, it's not enough. Like maybe you can mention 10 of them, the one who is actually known globally. So I'm sorry, it's very noisy. Yeah, so we need to help. We need to focus more on the talent rather than only about influencers is important, but there's also the people who actually build the industry, which is actually the brands and designers, and how to help them stronger. They are suffering right now. What they need to do, what kind of direction, how they can be able to channel their products and everything better. So more like that. And then again, I talk about collaboration again. Ecosystem is so much important. So if the ecosystem is strong, so no worries, modest fashion won't be just as a trend. You know, we are here because we have been in this industry for so long, you know, and then this is our industry. We need to be confident with our own industry. And then prepare the brands to be able to compete with mainstream brands. Always try to do something. I think we need more brains. Try to, you know, help the brands, give them voice, give them capacity building and everything. They need to know that they are not only competing with the other modest brand, but also mainstream brands, because mainstream brand started to do also modest fashion. And then also we need to be better digitally. I have been connected to brands and designers around the world. I hear their stories, you know, I see how beautiful is their creation, but sometimes what they are lack of is the connectivity. They don't really show what they have better in digitally. As we know, in the era of visuals right now, it's so important to to show your creation better through visuals, you know, and then the right language and everything. We need to elevate our game. So just what I'm saying is we just need to forget about how to be famous and everything. Just try to build the fundamental things that we need to do to make this industry better. So more solutions, more collaboration, you know, more discussion is so important. So be proud of our own scene. Right now, I'm also helping luxury mainstream brands who is trying to do modest fashion. But what I'm saying, we need to be proud of our scene. The market is already strong by itself. So for me to come back, right, you know, in the past, we are community based, we're trying to be known, we go mainstream, and then it goes everywhere, and then it lost a sense. So we need to come back to our own community now, and then we need to be proud of our identity. We just need to elevate the game, how to present modest fashion better, what to improve. So, but it has to be driven by our community. So innovate, but don't lose the identity, because you like it or not, people do modest fashion because they see the potential. So we can innovate, but don't lose the identity. I see some people first they do modest fashion and then they try to be accepted with the mainstream, and then in the end, you know, they are no longer modest fashion. You know, you like it or not, it's a market by itself. Indonesia is one of the biggest market in the world for modest fashion. The marketplace already have their own category for this, you know. So, you know, also in other country, I'm sure I heard a lot about country trying to market modest fashion, modest fashion. It means we are cool. So we need to innovate, but don't lose the identity and don't lose our authenticity. We are cool already. So we need to be proud of ourselves. I think it's so much important, but we need to also always try to improve our quality. You know, we need to learn and connect better. So one of the things that I'm so proud of is Council of Modest Fashion is actually a non-profit organization. We collect cool women all together who care about the industry together. You know, we try to bring solutions, what we can help, what we can do. I think every country have their own dynamics. So I'm not really agree with the idea of global can solve everything. No, because modest fashion heavily influenced by community. So all the countries have their own dynamic and challenge. So that's why the voice is so important. The voice of each country is so important. That's why the council is here. They have their own heads as well. They are very natural. They are collaborative. So feel free to reach them. They are here. Farida, Roshan, Dilyara, Miriam, Ida, some of them are here. So feel free to contact them and maybe collaborate. This is the project that I do. I did a lot. You know, I did a fashion incubator, connecting with the influencers. I did events. I did a lot of strategic projects. Actually, what I say is we need more people to create cool things, but please don't only focus on the glitz and glam. I think it's old already, it's done already, it's pandemic. We need to focus more on solutions to sales, so the modest fashion brands won't die, you know, because it's very hard. So we need to be closer together and collaborate. And then thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here, and God bless you. Thank you. Thank
Thank you
you,
so much,
Nisha.
Frank. Yeah, thank you so much, Priyanka, for a wonderful speech and presentation. We all are very pleased with your topic and the way of delivering knowledge. And thank you so much. Now let me introduce our next honorable speaker, Frida Effendi, the director of Council of Modest Fashion Azerbaijan. She is the creator and the founder of Hijab Queen brand, and she is also a creator and founder of HQS Events. Frida Effendi graduated the Faculty International Relations and International Law of Baku State University in Azerbaijan. She is director of Modest Fashion Council Azerbaijan, Hijab Queen, and HSQ events. Hijab Queen is the representative of the brands of Azerbaijani designers in the hijab industry. Thus, having a wide audience not only in Azerbaijan, they are trying to show all country of the world what talented designers they have. Hijab Queen is the council, and she was engaged in the production of exclusive handmade scarves made of 100% pure silk and natural dyes. Very warm welcome to you, Farida Effendi. Please share your screen and you can start the presentation. Thank you very much.
Hello, salam alaikum. You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, great. Just a second. Okay. Okay, first of all, I want to say thank to organizers of the Modest Fashion Forum for such a wonderful organization and bringing together experts from all over the world and to discuss very important topics. Thank you very much. So just hear the topic of Franca with my colleague Franca, and I totally agree with her that we need to build a fundament of modest fashion, not to be famous, to forget about the famous and to focus on the development and give a quality, yes, a quality to proud of ourselves and improve ourselves. Yes. So we should be, we need to be close together. Yes, I agree with you, and this is very, very true. So my topic is modest fashion, confident and comfortable. First of all, about the modest fashion. A few years ago, this concept was closely associated with closers by religion beliefs. But today we can safely say that this segment also attracts women of their faiths and life views, those who choose delicate and modest outfits for personal reasons. Skinny, deep neckline, associated waist and mini lengths give way to comfortable, closed, but no less attractive and beautiful outfits. Fashion has turned towards comfort, I think. Loose-fitting clothing is suitable for different types of bodies, so it can be offered to more consumers. So there are many subtitles in the interpretation of term modest fashion, but in general, it stems from the idea of looking stylish without how to say, resorting to overly open or tight-fitting things. So these are laconic closures predominantly loose, falling, and spare card, something like this. So all these aspects give a woman comfort in movement and confidence. And this is very, very important, I think. So despite the double standards prevailing in society, modest fashion is by no means a symbol of operation or degradation of women's rights. Why? Because the key aspect here is a personal choice, the choice in favor of one of another clothing. Someone is closer to tight fitting things, someone prefers more concise, sophisticated, graceful style, something like this style close to comfortable. The situation works both ways, I think. So since today women are free to buy and wear clothes of any design, I think this is the prerogative of individual freedom and informed decision, I think. So this is the think fashion. The point is not in the format of such as clothing, but in the choice that is made by each specific woman with an eye on her lifestyle, interests, and moral and aesthetic values, I think. And this choice now more and more often falls on reasonable modesty, reasonable think modesty, and a modest fashion. The visual concept of modest fashion is synthesis of style and modesty, modern design and traditions, convenience and originality. Therefore, the image in the modest style has many interpretations and can be both strict, puristic, and colorful, sporty, and also urban. Depending on preferences and goals, a modern woman chooses the format of the arrangement of things that is most convenient and preferable for her. And for example, dresses over trousers, fluffy blouses, flared or straight skirts with the long tunics and sundresses, something like this, and this and etc. Modest fashion is first of all comfortable. And this is very important to know that the modest fashion is comfortable. I love this direction because you can wear clothes that do not hinder movement and do not emphasize extra pounds. Thanks to the oversize, we are used to loose silhouettes and voluminous cut. Yes, something like that. And we know how to look stylish in a balloon dress and palazzo trousers and etc. The visual concept of modest fashion is a symbiosis of modesty, modern design, traditions, and convenience, I think. In the context of modest fashion, it is easy to imagine many styles. For example, casual style, ethnic style, office style, romantic style, and even sporty style. This one is modest fashion. So what I'm trying to say, for us, modesty is not only about religion beliefs, but more about the culture of mindfulness and temperances. So modesty comes first from the heart, I mean, then encompass aspects of dress, speech, and behavior. Modesty does not start with what you wear, then affect your heart. Instead, it starts in your heart and affects what you wear. It encompasses both body and heart. So hijab is one way to be modest in one's dress, but it is not the only way. So many of us, especially those of us who wear hijab, get caught up in this detail and consider that this is the only way of expressing modesty, but that's not true. Hijab is only one way to express your beliefs, and there are many others. Modesty is a core concept that stems from the way of life and doesn't only encompass the outward appearance or attire. So showing restraint and respect are not the same as feeling a priest. Rather, they are the guiding principle for me to express myself, to be who I am, and free from stereotypes. People spend quite a bit of time choosing what to wear, and I'm very excited that more and more modest boutiques and fashion trends, modest fashion weeks are popping up recently to increase the options of clients. So moreover, as a Council of Modest Fashion, I'm very happy that I can contribute to this process and support my peer women who share the same values as I do. I believe once you embrace modesty in the inside, it will simply radiate outwards. Modesty just isn't about the clothes or hijab, but it's a way of life, I mean. So thank you very much. Hello? Do you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. Thank you
Okay.
so much, Farida,
Yes, thank you
for the
very much
discussion.
for your invitation. Thank you very much for thank AlHuda for invitation of Modest Fashion Forum. This is very important topics, and this is very interesting for. I think this is very interesting for my country, for Azerbaijan, and we need to be together, to be close together, and to show people that the modest fashion is developed day by day, and I think it's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for your appreciation and your kind words. We will collaborate with you, inshallah, in the future. Thank you very much. Now, let
Inshallah,
me
inshallah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let me introduce our next most beautiful and talented speaker, Aisha Nancy. She is the chair Roots TV, and she is the co-designing film project for the new museum and Roots TV and co-designing program for the Community Arts Network. She is also a founder and the director of Modest Fashion Australia, where she established and scaled social enterprise, create events, and produced several fashion shows. She established a creative hub and co-working space for designers and entrepreneurs. She also worked with the Images and the Canon Australia. She is also an advisor in Western Australian Police at Western Australian Police, that is Multicultural Women's Advisory Group. A very warm welcome to you, Aisha. And now the floor is yours. You can share your screen and present your presentation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Thank you, Raisa, for the invite and the incredibly generous introduction. Before I share my screen, and hopefully it all works, I would like to pay my respects to the First Nation and traditional owners and custodians of this land, Perth, Australia, on which I live and work. They are the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, one of the many Aboriginal tribes. I would also like to formally thank the AlHuda Centre for Modest Fashion for this wonderful invite, and I'd like to acknowledge my fellow panellists. So thank you so much. Now bear with me while I share my screen. Let's go to, okay. Basic. Okay, I'm not very tech savvy. Okay, portion of screen now. I've got PowerPoint. Is that the one that I'm looking for? Okay, that's not going to work. Okay, I don't share PowerPoint. Okay, let me have a look. So everyone's still with me? Let me just make sure that my PowerPoint is going to be working. Don't normally use a PowerPoint. Okay. Okay, while I figure this out, I'm just going to do my introduction. Is that okay with everyone? And then I'll bring up some of the images in a little while. So just a little brief background on myself and how I came to be in this industry, quite accidentally actually. So I was born in Indonesia. My mum is originally Indonesian and my father from Yugoslavia. Share screen and click on the document you want to share. Yes, I have tried to do that. Let me try one more time. So please be patient with me. I might have to close that one down. Let's have a look. Okay, so here I am. Okay, where am I? Okay. Thank you. I'm not very tech savvy. I'm supposed to be in the e-commerce field as well. Let's see. Let's go to basic. So screen, show all windows. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open this up again to go to my desktop. All right, let me see if this will work. Go to, doesn't seem to be coming up. Guys, I don't know if my PowerPoint's going to come up because it's not actually coming up with my options to share.
Don't worry,
Select a
Aisha.
window.
If you are facing any problem, then you can start your talk without
I
sharing
do
your screen.
apologize. I don't want to. All right, you might need to access share. Okay, that's not going to happen. Okay, so I'm just going to continue. If anyone wants a copy of my PowerPoint presentation, please email me or the host of the organization. I'm happy to share that. Okay, so my father was from Yugoslavia and I came to Australia when I was 6 weeks old. So I suppose my experience of being a Muslim woman with hijab and growing up in a very Western country colours my own experience in how I choose to wear hijab. So my 3 younger sisters were all born in Australia. My 2 sons were also born here. And I've lived in Perth for about 24 years. I attended about 7 different public schools. So you can imagine I really grew up around mainly non-Muslim people. And that was before I was able to go to a Muslim school called the Australian Islamic College. And I did all of my high school years there. And that was my first real exposure to the huge cultural and linguistic diversity within the Muslim community. Yes, 7 schools. So you can appreciate that for those who have lived in Muslim dominant countries their entire life, who are used to hearing the adhan being called 5 times a day, that's actually quite foreign for someone like me. So I think I missed out on a lot as well. Now, I decided at 12 to wear the hijab, and at 14, I decided to wear the full niqab out of my own choice. My mother was absolutely horrified, by the way. She said, oh, we're Indonesian, we don't do this. And I said, I'm doing it because I was very stubborn. Then 9/11 happened, and I saw a very ugly side to Australian society. There was a lot of Islamophobia. There was a lot of racism, and it was really confronting. But throughout this entire journey, I continued to volunteer, being a mum. I actively participated very much at the grassroots. I've done about 21 years of work at the grassroots, doing all kinds of work from Islamic education, interfaith, multicultural. I had represented the Muslim and the youth at the state level for our anti-racism steering committee, which resulted in our state multiculturalism charter. And that was chaired by none other than our leader at that time, our Premier, Jeff Gallop. And I was also roped into sometimes doing fashion shows in the community, not because I was a fashionista, just because there was no one else to do it. Now, I tell you all of this because back in those days, there was no concept of a modest fashion industry as we know it now. And that's really important to bear in mind because we can start to see an evolution perhaps where there are gaps in the industry and where there are many, many opportunities. For example, I remember back in 2008, I chose to do a university assignment. So my first degrees were in, I did a Bachelor of Arts and I majored in English Literature and Political Science and International Relations. And I went on to do honours and then went on to do a law degree. But when I did that in my undergrad, I decided to focus on a woman called Rabia Zarkapur. She was really different. I mean, I'd never encountered a hijabi Muslim woman. She was based in America. So I decided to focus on this trailblazer. And she seemed to understand the ideological battles that Muslim women in hijab face every day, almost as frontline warriors in Western societies, and how this woman was suddenly catering to our needs as Muslim women. So those were the very, very early days. This was well before the rise of social media influencers or big YouTubers. So things were starting to crank up, but certainly not to this present level day of attention. What I wish to state from the outset, and I think my previous panelists have alluded to this, is that hijab, first and foremost, is a religious garment. I consider it to be a religious obligation sacred to men and women found in the Quran and the Sunnah. And this is regardless of fashion trends. So we all know that women wore hijab a long time before the evolution of a modest fashion industry and will continue to do so. However, from a business perspective, this could be considered very, very good news because if your cards are played well with the level of sensitivity that's required, businesses, designers, creatives, industry professionals can successfully tap into this market, but they all need to truly understand the psyche of not just the Muslim woman, but Muslims in general, and basically anyone who considers themselves to be a modest dresser. So for example, I have clients who are Christian, a Jewish female rabbi, you know, I collaborate with anyone. And I think it helps to take the focus off this idea that it's all about Muslim women equating to modesty. And as we know, not all Muslim women decide or choose to wear hijab or to dress modestly, and not all non-Muslim women choose to dress immodestly. So we have to sort of steer away from these sort of reductionist kind of binaries. And I think that's better for business. So I'm going to share a few statistics just to, I suppose, establish some of the groundwork. Some of them you would already have heard. The fashion industry globally is valued at $2.2 trillion, okay? Because if we want to sort of focus just on modesty, we might be missing out on some segments, certain segments of the market. Now, we know that by 2024, the modest fashion industry is destined or projected to be valued at US $311 billion. Now, I get excited by those figures because you know what? It actually appeals to a lot of designers who want to take an inclusive approach. And talking about mainstream brands, you know, we've seen what they've been doing, Uniqlo, Banana Republic, collaborations with Disney, Dolce & Gabbana, H&M. These brands are doing something interesting because their work has particular implications for Muslim diasporas living in the West who are culturally speaking Western and Muslim. For example, let's consider the case of the Western Muslim who is a convert / revert. Okay, they've grown up their entire lives being Anglo-Saxon or Celtic, and suddenly they become Muslim and now they're expected to dress like an Asian, an Arab, or so on. That might be a little bit jarring. having modest fashion available in the mainstream means that this particular group can continue to actually just wear the same wardrobe with a number of adaptations. So it's a much more gentle approach. So what about Muslim countries and their experiences? We expect them to be natural leaders in the industry. Hi, we've got a revert in the room. That doesn't necessarily happen unless there is intentionality behind it and the resources. And I think there's a top to bottom approach from the government. But let's look at two particular countries. We've got Turkey and Indonesia. We have these giant e-commerce platforms like Modesty. Now, Modesty has been touted and projected to be Turkey's very first billion-dollar unicorn, which is outstanding given the historical and political context in the last 100 years under a Kemalist Turkey, where hijab was effectively banned from the public sector. So that, for me, is quite fascinating if you look at how hijab or modesty has almost become this vehicle to affect some really powerful social and political changes. So when people say to me, well, fashion is frivolous, and I say it is anything but, because it is a vehicle for social impact, depending on how we'd like to drive that vehicle. Now let's look at Indonesia. Indonesia is just a few hours away from me. So it is a fascinating country, not just because I proudly call myself Indonesian, but because of its sheer size, not just of its creative economy, but its population. By 2050, it is set to be the 4th largest economy in the world. Australia will be ranked somewhere around 27th. You would think the government would be taking notice of that, but unfortunately not at this stage. So Indonesia has huge potential. And I think, in my humble opinion, we're just touching the tip of the iceberg. We haven't even really begun to generate this momentum to reach critical mass. I think that there are so many opportunities still to explode. Indonesia has been really interesting in terms of how they have quite, an agile fashion pivoted during COVID with online modest fashion weeks. We've had some great movers and shakers there, Modest Fashion Week online, Indonesia Modest Fashion Week. We've seen some activity from Russia, the Philippines, Miami, lots of things happening on Instagram. We also look at sportswear. Sportswear is really interesting to me because well, I first encountered this difficulty on a personal level when I started training in Taekwondo around 6 years ago. And, anyone who's done any kind of martial arts knows that it is a full contact sport. So if you're pinning yourself here and you get punched in the throat, that's going to really hurt and it's quite dangerous. So I started looking around on the market, couldn't find anything locally, obviously in Australia, found something online, Dutch company Capsters, recently acquired by a big Malaysian company. And now Nike, Adidas have come on board. I'd like to make a special mention of a UK brand called Jog On. They have done sportswear, a fashion brand, but what is really impressive about what they're doing is they link it to issues of mental health. And that's what I find is really a point of difference, because it's highlighting that fashion becomes a vehicle to address real issues in the community, and mental health is definitely a big one. So who are the top 5 spenders in the world? Well, Iran at $53 billion, Turkey at $28 billion, Saudi Arabia, $21 billion, Pakistan, $20 billion, Indonesia, $16 billion. It certainly is a growth industry. And we're looking at a growth industry, a rate of about 5% a year. It dipped slightly during COVID, but is picking up. And if you look at fashion e-commerce overall, market penetration has increased from 46.6% in 2021 And by 2024, it will be 60.32%. So e-commerce is clearly where it's heading. Social media. Social media is a huge factor in the rise of modest fashion. I'm a millennial, so as you could see tonight, I'm not always across technology, but I appreciate that the younger generations, they live and breathe on these platforms, and this is where we have to meet them. This is the language. You know, I'm not someone who perhaps likes to put people in boxes. If a consumer has a particular need, whether it's practical, they're a working mum, or if they do need to glam up because of going to a wedding or Eid or whatever, you know, we're here to solve problems. That's what business does. If we're meeting millennial markets, go millennials. I agree. I agree. I'm here to represent millennials. I do think that it is about meeting our customer where they're at. The thing about when you are a Muslim woman and you just experience these daily frustrations, like it's hot weather, it's humid, you're dying. Wouldn't it be great to have a hijab that has, you know, fabric that's engineered to be cooling, or to know that there are better fabrics instead of some cheap polyester? Like I said, the sports, or for example, if you're going to court, hopefully you won't end up there appearing before a judge, but you know, what are you going to wear, for example? There are different industries that require different uniforms. IKEA has designed a uniform that will fit in, but the police force here in WA designed a hijab to fit in as well. So I'm going to wrap this up with a few more facts. So my underlying thesis for this particular presentation is that modest fashion is not just good business, but it is a powerful platform for igniting social change, which is why I'm very open to collaborating with all kinds of almost unlikely partners. You know, I don't put a judgment around that. If we have an alignment of values and we're doing something really innovative and experimental, you know, I always say to my team, if it's cliched, I don't want to know about it. Bring me something fresh. Okay, but it is a way of building bridges of understanding. For those of you who don't know me, I was known as a bit of a radical back in my earlier days. I was very confrontational with my politics and sort of a little bit more on the aggressive side. But what I found through fashion is that it is a great icebreaker to start other conversations, whether it's around religion, about politics, about culture, in order to generate genuine friendships. Because a lot of people, if you want to sort of educate people around Islam, why women wear the hijab, what is halal, etc., then often it's going to be through food, fashion, culture, dance, that kind of thing. You start talking about politics, people shut down. And I found that modest fashion is a great way to circumvent the cognitive resistance to actually enter the heart and invite people into that space as an equal participant. They may not be Muslim, but they might just enjoy the show, or they might have a level of empathy. A few other things I think just to throw out there before I end this talk is that Muslims are getting more digitally connected. And we are also, we're currently 1.91 billion in the world, and we are the fastest growing religion in the world. So the Islamic economy is only going to increase. I just want to also mention something about ethical consumption. I think one of the other panelists will be covering that. But, you know, we know that in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that it is He who has appointed you Khalifa or vice regent on the earth. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the world is beautiful, and truly Allah the Exalted had made you his stewards in it, and he sees how you acquit yourselves. Fashion is the second biggest polluter after oil and petroleum. And what I want to leave you with this as a question is, in whatever space you exist in, whatever role you're playing in the halal or the modest fashion industry, think about this. Are you part of the solution, or are you part of the problem? Profit is a very strong incentive in business. That's why we form companies and partnerships. But there are other ways to develop riches and abundance. And our duty is first and foremost to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I hope that we will all continue, inshallah, to work together and to collaborate. I've always got an open door to that, to those opportunities. I look forward to listening to the rest of my panelists. And I am truly apologetic about my PowerPoint presentation. If anyone would like a copy of that, I'm more than happy to send that through, or even a copy of my notes. More than happy to. Thank you so much, AlHuda Center for Islamic, AlHuda Center for Modest Fashion. Thank you so much.
You're on mute, Raisa.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you so much, Aisha, for your excellency and your presentation. We can't see your presentation, but we appreciate your availability and your talk about modest fashion. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to invite our next honorable and brilliant speaker, Roshan Isaac from Africa. She is the managing director and the editor-in-chief Style Africa, and she is also a director of Council of Modest Fashion Africa. And she is the modest fashion advocate who travels the world fashion events, curating for international fashion shows and films, and work as a speaker at international economic forums, featured in numerous magazines, appeared in many talk shows. Being the regional director of Africa Modest Fashion Council, the creator and the editor-in-chief of Style Africa, the managing director of Nomio Accessories, and former general station manager at the PTY Limited. The host of herself run podcast and vlog series called On My Radar, which featured her interviews with the leading most fashion figures around the world. Thank you so much, Roshan, for your availability. And it's honorable for us that you joined us in this forum. Now the floor is yours. You can talk about modest fashion, about your topic, and you can share your screen. Thank you so much.
All right, Jazakallah for that introduction. Let me get my screen ready. Can everyone see that? Let's see. Okay.
We cannot hear you, Roshan.
All right, let me just add the audio. Can you see anything?
Oh, no.
No, Roshan, we can't see anything.
You can't see anything. Okay, maybe I haven't shared my screen yet. That makes sense. Sorry, a little laugh for the day. Let me just make sure that I've got it. Yeah. Let's see which one it is. Hold a second. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
I
can hear you.
Sorry, did nothing come up?
Your screen, but not your presentation.
Is it? Okay, I'm just trying to open this again because now it's completely gone. And then I'm so sorry about this to everyone watching. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Seem to be on the Zoom link and I can't get rid of it. Can you, I want to do a new share and
I think you
can you
close it and open
see,
again.
can you
You
see
close-
my screen now?
No.
If I share that.
Yes, now it's okay. Okay.
Okay, awesome. So sorry, everyone. Here we go. Let me open this up properly. All right, assalamu alaikum and welcome to our guests, and thank you to the AlHuda Center of Modest Fashion and the AlHuda Center of Islamic Banking and Economics for the invitation to speak on this Modest Fashion Forum. My topic, the resurgence of modest fashion, why now? In this topic, the resurgence of modest fashion, why now? I will touch on the history of fashion, the existence of modest fashion, and then the resurgence and growing interest in modest fashion in recent years, leading to the global interest of this industry. Many studies have been conducted to understand and examine the modest fashion industry, and these studies indicate the growing interest and the move toward a modest fashion community and identity. The drivers of this market are Muslim consumers. Many of these studies undertaken look into the new economic opportunity for the fashion sector, represented by consumers, mostly Muslims, and to investigate the influence of Islamic ethical and moral standards in fashion, which is defined by Sharia, to better understand and meet the needs of this market. In the latest 2020-2021 State of the Global Islamic Report, the challenge we face is that modest fashion is perceived as a trend instead of as a sustainable sector. Mainstream brands see modest fashion as a passing trend and not as a sector that will always have customers and demand, which is the reason why mainstream brands will not invest a lot of money or effort into something they perceive to be short-lived. It is important to note here that modest fashion has never come and gone, and I'll say it again, it is not, I hope I'm still on.
Yes.
Okay, great, sorry. So modest fashion has never come and gone, and I'll say it again, it's not a trend or a passing phase, as mentioned before. Modest fashion may include trends, but it is not a trend in itself. It has and always will exist and remains to constantly and consistently grow, whether mainstream retailers provide modest fashion sections in their stores or high-end designer labels create once-off Eid-inspired collections. It is also not defined solely by one group of people within a religion, culture, country, environment, or a tribe. It is a combination of many things leading to individual choices or community influences. So let me take you on a brief history journey. Kent State University Museum created this illustration charting the changing fashion silhouettes through time, showing hemlines rising and falling, skirts widening and narrowing, and waistlines moving up and down the body. In the last century, from 1890s through to about say 1905, the Victorian era was prevalent. Women's dress were conservative with long sleeves and high necks, and there were lots of layers and coverage. Modest fashion, therefore, was not only for a specific religious group during these eras, but also created a division in status. Moving on to the Edwardian era in the 1910, women's dress were boxier and looser in design. Lace was also very popular. And then let's fast forward to 1920, when the hemline started to cut off to below the knee, and then the popular miniskirt introduced in 1960. However, from the 1920s to date, the hemline may have gotten shorter and the neckline lower and silhouettes in the body more exposed. A huge amount of emphasis through these years was always on women's dress according to Western and European standards, when in actual fact, a large number and growing number of women who prefer to dress modestly was unaccounted for and underrepresented in mainstream records. Not because everyone followed the Western and European trends, but because anything other than Western and European trends had very little influence and visibility in the public eye. However, evidence from the 8th century, Saudi Arabia, the Ottoman Empire, and even Morocco, pre-Islamic period, they wore lengthier robes. In the 14th century, during the Ottoman Empire, women wore elegant garments like the intari, that is the kaftan, which is still worn today across the globe. And even layering was popular, as you can see on the image on the right. The intari would be worn with a, okay, I can't pronounce the words, so I'll refer to the English words. The intari would be worn with a undertunic, and then the hirka, the cardigan, the salver, the ankle length trousers, and a overmantle. So you can see layering upon layering upon layering. The Ottoman Empire evolved and expanded throughout the 18th century and the 19th centuries, and clothing styles were evaluated, developed, and enforced, mirroring the many levels of society and the cosmopolitan nature of Ottoman cultural tastes. Apart from historical evidence, we may look at the definitions of modest fashion or references from one religion to the other for which the requirements of dressing modestly is stipulated. This instruction of modest dress does not only apply to women, both men and women are required to dress in an appropriate way and should not be immoral or indecent. In Islam, dressing up in the right way, as commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, plays a major role in boosting our iman, as well as bringing us closer to Him. It is also a means of feeling closer to Allah by just covering modestly. So to dress modestly, you must avoid boastfulness and or vanity. We must be careful to dress modestly for the right reasons as well. For many Muslims, modest dress is a lifestyle choice, no matter what part of the world they find themselves in. While religion does play a huge role in the drive of modest fashion with Muslim women at the lead, the sociology of modest dress through the years indicate that modest fashion was and still is prevalent across the globe. In an Indonesian study, it was pointed out that from the that the main characteristic of modest fashion being clothing with pieces that cover most parts of the body, silhouettes or curves, especially for women. And the study also further clarified that considering the history of fashion development, this fashion style is designed for women and men. The concept of modesty is, to a greater extent, associated with Muslims, but not meant specifically for Muslims. These days, wearing modest clothing is not only meant for an obligation or a spiritual need, but has also evolved into a choice of lifestyle. In 2016, media became more and more aware of the rise of modest fashion through the voices the community took to social media to share their style, their layering, in order to create a modest look. From this community, influences were born and identified, and this then enforced the rise of the modest fashion industry. And these influences created a surge in the modest fashion awareness. Influences like Indonesia's Dian Pelangi, South Africa's Nabila Karim, Turkey's Hulya Aslan, New York's Maria Alia, Kuwait's Mariam Muhammad are a few names across the globe who are making awareness of modest fashion globally. From the community, social media influences were born and the need for modest fashion was set in motion. This need was met with designers, again from a community who realized that they could design and create clothes that catered to their needs as modest fashion wearers. So they themselves were inclined to wear modest fashion, clothes that meet the requirements of modest regulations in whichever way it is defined by the community of modest fashion wearers. So we start seeing the ripple effect of designers, the rising need and love for modest fashion, and then the e-commerce hubs like Hijab, Modernisa, AlHuda, and modest fashion weeks, modest runway sections in New York, Italy fashion weeks, which created easier shopping experiences for modest fashionistas across the globe. This rise from an entrepreneur to a thriving modest fashion business with proven statistics amounting to billions spent in the modest fashion industry has now caught the attention of mainstream retailers and high-end designers who, through collaborations and designing their own modest fashion collections, only now are they realizing the great potential that this market has in the modest fashion economy. When we look at the economic reach of the modest fashion tapping into e-commerce, the statistics as per the State of the Global Islamic Report, 74% of global internet users reported to have bought something online. And several countries have passed this global average, with Indonesia leading at 88% of internet users. 90% of members of the Indonesian Retailers Association have adopted an omni-channel strategy as more and more consumers are taking to online shopping. And according to the Jakarta Post, fashion and the beauty industry are the top e-commerce categories with $620 billion in global consumer spend. This global e-commerce market is valued at $3.4 trillion since 2019, 16% of the global retail spend. Of this, at least 50% was derived from mobile transactions. This trend in e-commerce is led by more than 4.5 billion internet users worldwide and over 3.8 billion social media users, reflecting this high potential of e-commerce for the modest fashion industry. And so e-commerce capabilities have become more critical as consumers have turned to shopping online, even during the pandemic. And it was pointed out that two brands like Zara and Massimo Dutti saw online sales increase by 95% during a lockdown. So employing other strategies along with e-commerce like social commerce, which is the use of social media selling, thus further supports the growth and ensures a seamless journey for the modest fashion industry growth. So why now? Why has modest fashion become such a hype? One, because it's always been underexposed by mainstream media and the community has given it a voice. Two, modest fashions through social media or modest fashion promotion through social media has expanded itself to a global reach through this many platforms like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And three, the modest fashion community created platforms, designers, influencers who themselves promote, develop, and support the modest fashion economy. Four, entrepreneurs and startups in designing modest fashion caters to a wide variety of genres: ready-to-wear, couture, loungewear, children's wear, teens wear, beach wear, bridal wear, athleisure wear, and I can go on. It also caters for different levels of income, showing that the greater reach and potential of modest fashion surpasses status and styles. And five, modest fashion designer collaborations like Uniqlo and the Rona collection in Macy's. And there's so much more, even here in South Africa, with very few or little hubs where modest fashion communities and pop-ups have arisen. All these collaborations also play a role to the hype and the rise of modest fashion. So in closing, There are many reasons why modest fashion has come into full view of mainstream media, of retail, of designers, and of the customers themselves. Modest fashion has claimed its space as a genre on its own and is owned by the custodians of modest fashion. That is the community who calls for it and the designers that adhere to and design for it. Thank you. So that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Roshan. Great one.
Okay,
Great,
so
thank
thank
you.
you so much, Roshan, for your excellency and the beautiful talk. Your presentation was very nice and beautiful. Thank you so much. Now, our
Pleasure.
next honorable speaker is Ms. Hajra Khan from London. She is the ethical fashion consultant at Torino Fashion Match, and she is also a journalist and the presenter of Islam Channel in the United Kingdom. She is a skilled project manager and have worked freelance in the fashion consultancy with ethical fashion. Networking with the connecting B2B in the modest business and the fashion sector are part of her consultancy. She is also a writer of MuslimGirl.com magazine, the Islamic Fashion Design Council, and run a blog about her various activities. She also has research for the production company Tearaway Films UK on the rise and the impact of modest fashion on mainstream fashion. Very warm welcome to you, Hajra.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all attending.
Walaikum salam.
It's a real pleasure. Forgive me, I'm not very tech savvy either, and I didn't get on in time to put my backdrop in, so you'll have to put up with my kitchen here. But I just like to start Bismillah with thanking AlHuda Centre of Modest Fashion and yourself, Raisa, and all the collaborators involved for welcoming me amongst such knowledgeable and international guests. And I hope my contribution is a valid one. As my talk is entitled, looking at sustainable modest fashion and the global Islamic economy, I mean, I'm going to sort of break that down for you and look at it in a slightly different angle. And I know some of the other speakers have looked at the Global Islamic Economy report and have quoted facts and figures, but I'm just going to run through some things for you, some figures for you, because it's relevant to what I want to talk about with sustainable and ethical fashion. So, you know, in 2020, 2021, it's a year that is definitely going to go down in history. You know, the COVID-19 pandemic set off an unprecedented chain reaction of what we could say is like global economic disruption on so many levels in the economic sector, you know, people's lives, their livelihoods, you know, how we operate. It's affected everybody and everything. You know, businesses, investors and governments across the globe and the Islamic economy found themselves embroiled in a financial crisis that couldn't have been foreseen. So, you know, some use this disruption to sort of, you know, pivot, you know, sadly, and was most of these businesses and people took a downslide through, you know, unmitigated circumstances. They had no control over it. While some businesses, you know, embraced the new landscape and they flourished. And, you know, as some other speakers have said, you know, they picked up on having to rely on the internet and transfer their businesses from a physical store to a virtual store. So we've seen that shift of businesses moving online, and a lot of businesses finding that they are doing much better and reaching a greater audience when they do actually move online. And for example, this conference couldn't have happened without the technology of Zoom. You know, we haven't physically had to get up, and we can't travel during this pandemic. So, you know, we're all here virtually. You know, going back to the State of the Global Islamic Economy report, the 8th edition covers developments over this monumentally challenging year, pre and post COVID. And the arrival of the pandemic, you know, however, you know, being a huge setback in our industry of fashion, modest fashion, many small businesses were forced to close, and some permanently, such as the Modest, which from a UK perspective was you know, an exciting, innovative launch pad for designers, journalists, models, Muslim-oriented media and Western media to sort of get on board and access this whole other world of fashion. And like I said, you know, they crumbled and they had to fold. And we've seen, sorry, forgive me, you know, social, you know, the industries, looking at this report, you know, it suggests that the industry is expected to recover slowly, but, you know, without a strong ecosystem and sustainable financing, businesses will not be able to upscale. You know, so going back to that topic that was covered by our previous speakers, you know, we need people to, and businesses to invest in the modest fashion sector. So, you know, we have to look at how Muslims spend on apparel was valued at 277 billion in 2019, but it's also expected to drop by 2.9% to 268 billion. And you know, these are figures that we have to look at as well. We're sort of praising this up and coming sector in the Islamic economy. We also need to look at and be conscious of the effects that COVID has had on our businesses. And it's not only COVID, like, you know, Franca brought up and Farida, that we need to move away from this concept of, you know, modest fashion being a trend, and you know, bloggers and video makers, what have you, all jumping on this bandwagon, and you know, for fame and fortune. You know, we've in the UK we've got, you know, we've had advertising campaigns with H&M, and you know, catering for the modest market. You know, companies like Uniqlo as well jumping on the bandwagon. And we've also seen the US, as I'm sure one of our later speakers will tell us, that, you know, those, you know, Macy's also collaborated with some of the Muslim designers and have modest clothing in their stores. So, you know, we do need to go back to, you know, this idea of building up from the roots, and where do we go from this sort of rush of fame and excitement over modest fashion. We need to make the business sustainable, but not only that, we need to look at what we're producing and tap into that market and question ourselves: is it sustainable? You know, for example, we've seen brands in the modest sportswear and swimwear impact the sustainable, ethical fashion market. You know, sustainable brands like Lyra Swimwear. It's an Italian company, and the UK's Under Wrapped. And as was mentioned by Aisha, Jog On Sportswear UK, I happen to know the sister who runs this business. You know, these are examples of ethical companies that are making an impact on this market of sustainable, modest fashion. You know, whether it's the causes that they support, like was mentioned before, mental health issues, or abolishing modern slavery, or being conscious of how fabrics are made. You know, are they polluting? Is the waste product polluting the environment or the water, the landscape? Are we providing jobs for the local communities that produce these garments? Are we protecting those workers? So, you know, these are examples of European and UK companies that are successful at addressing these issues. So, you know, there's a publication called The Ethical Consumer, and they're theethicalconsumer.org, if anyone wants to go online and have a look at them. And they set out questions that consumers, manufacturers and designers should ask for us in the modest fashion sector, and things that we should consider and take on board. You know, going back to materials, you know, if we're using cotton in our production line, do we use organic cotton? You know, there's many problems associated with cotton production, from the use of child labour to the widespread use of toxic pesticides. So, you know, I think it's our duty as business owners, manufacturers, to employ those producers of cotton that are 100% organic. You know, China have a great initiative where they are subsidizing farmers for a lower output, but giving them a greater financial reward if their methods are sustainable and how they grow and harvest their cotton, and how it's then made into the fabric itself. So you know, we need to look at other countries and how they are being successful in their move to be more sustainable and make less of an impact on our environment. You know, we also need to look at are our products fair trade? You know, many high street retailers, for example, rely on, you know, overworked and underpaid garment workers to continue to churn out what's been labelled fast fashion. And, you know, if we buy fair trade, we're ensuring that we support the livelihood of the person who made those clothes. You know, and I think as, you know, as Muslims, we have a responsibility to ask those questions in our buying habits, but as, you know, as business owners, we also have that amana placed on us. You know, we are, as Muslims, custodians of the earth. You know, we are responsible for looking after this planet. And, you know, so we need to look at, you know, alternative options within the modest fashion sector, like, you know, has a product been reused, an item, you know, upcycled? You know, the fashion industry is the second biggest polluter in the UK. And, you know, Aisha was talking about how, and I think also Franca, that, you know, fashion globally is one of the greatest polluters, whether that's landfill sites or chemical pollution. You know, we have to look at how most clothing is only worn only a handful of times, and then, you know, and then it's sent on to these landfill sites. So, you know, we can, you know, we need to be more innovative in how we help the environment. You have tech savvy individuals who are setting up apps where we can rent clothes, where we can swap clothes, where we can buy into whether it's designer secondhand clothes, or even looking at things that are handmade, or are we considering things that are made by artisans in so-called underdeveloped countries? Are we providing fodder for that in infrastructure if we buy from people who need our support, instead of, you know, turning into this need to keep up with every popular trend that comes out every second, and going into shops that I won't advertise here, but that, you know, you can pick up garments for a couple of pounds that replicate something that's just come out on the catwalk. We also need to consider, you know, are we buying fur or leather? You know, over 1 million animals are killed every year for their fur, and leather has a high cost in terms of the environment as well as animal rights. So, you know, from an animal rights perspective, you know, they would advise, you know, to avoid clothes containing those fabrics. Obviously, as Muslims, we know that it's not forbidden for us to use those products, but we need to be more conscious of how we use those materials. You know, and do we use toxic chemicals to produce garments? You know, clothes manufacturing often uses numerous chemicals that are then released, and they seriously damage the environment and have a huge impact on CO2 emission levels, and you know, sea life in the oceans around the world. And again, we need to look at artificial fabrics like viscose, so synthetic fibres. You know, they're increasingly popular with designers and high street retailers alike. You know, that's within the modest fashion sector, and you know, the Western market too. You know, it's cheap, it's accessible, but we have to be conscious of the manufacture of synthetic fibres, that it is causing serious water pollution, and it's, you know, it's led to human rights violations as well as causing serious environmental harm. So, you know, I think you know, when you want to consider if we are a modest, ethical fashion brand, we need to think about some like key aspects of what it is to be an ethical fashion brand. You know, have we got fair wages and working conditions for all those working in the supply chain? You know, from those producing the raw materials, such as, you know, like I said, the farmers growing the cotton, to the workers stitching together a garment. You know, everyone should receive a fair living wage. There also needs to be transparency and traceability about the suppliers and the production process itself. And it's a key indicator of an ethical fashion brand. You know, no company should be so secretive that they can't disclose how or where their products came from or how they came about. You know, this should be part of the marketing strategy that companies use to attract the consumer or the conscientious consumer to buy their product. So, you know, ethical fashion companies think about their impact on the environment, and they'll use sustainable fabrics, and they will be conscious of less polluting products. You know, they'll use things like natural plant-based dyes in their work, and ethical fashion brands often don't use, like I said, animal products, or, you know, wool or silk. So, and in many cases, they produce clothes that are built to last. On top of that, they're and they offer repair services and clothes, like I said before, that you can lease. You know, this is a completely different take on our concept of modest fashion, but I think it's something that we do need to consider if we want to survive, if we want to embrace the global economic market, and certainly after the lessons of COVID, where we have become conscientious of what we use and how we interact with people, that we should be open to questioning if our brand is ethical. And you know, I really do believe that sustainability and being ethically conscious should be equated with the term halal and modest clothing. You know, it should be an automatic assumption, given that, you know, we've been given the earth as an amana. And, you know, we need to throw forward questions like, you know, if modern slavery is being challenged, and we need to look seriously at how our garments are being disposed of. And, you know, I've written many articles around this subject. You know, companies that are involved with promoting themselves as being ethical, and I think there needs to be more Muslim-owned companies that come on board, because, you know, by default, as Muslims, and the term halal, we should by default be ethical and be conscious of being sustainable. You know, according to like the Dinar Standard report, you know, when we look at how sales are expected to rise in their billions, like 361 billion by 2023, we know how lucrative the fashion market is and how successful we are on our own. And we know that the Western economy has only just, you know, recently in the last few years jumped on this bandwagon. And but, you know, we need to really look at ourselves and see, and if we're taking into account the effects that this rise in popularity will have on our underrepresented garment workers and the environment. So, you know, there should be this consciousness of, you know, we want to make a profit, we want to be successful, but how are we doing it? You know, the Global Islamic Economy Indicator, the GIEI, they offer a comprehensive picture of countries that are currently best positioned to address the multi-trillion-dollar global halal economy opportunity. And as was said before, you know, Malaysia is the lead in the overall Global Islamic Economy Indicator, and they've ranked the highest in the, you know, 8 consecutive years. And we've seen countries like Saudi Arabia move up, and the, you know, UAE following, and again Indonesia, you know, fast catching up with these countries. And I'd like to make a point about Indonesia, that the whole country has got this amazing initiative from ground roots, whether it's cleaning up beaches or looking at the input into the oceans, to pollution. They've got all sorts of government-backed initiatives for their country to become more sustainable, more ethical, and this has transferred into the fashion industry as well. So we've seen platforms come up that are listing companies that are ethical, that consumers can buy from. It's a huge initiative, and I think as our individual countries can learn from examples like Indonesia. Despite some of the negative things that I've said about the UK and its waste management of fashion, it's considered the Islamic economy centre of Europe, and it's we've got multiple startups emerging within the Islamic economy sectors. Whether that's thriving modest fashion, to fintech and banking. The UK is one of these rising stars. And we have to look at these type of rising stars as exporters of modest fashion to OIC countries, which are the Organisation of the Islamic Cooperation. How we have this potential to increase further as consumers and show an increasing preference for European inspired clothing. And that might be like from everybody, there's this thing that we have to sort of compromise our fashion. And I'm not actually talking about watering down our concept of haya, of what is modest, but I'm talking at looking at the cultural needs of fashion in individual countries and what is considered modest. And these companies need to tap into that, need to accommodate that, need to produce products for that. In the UK, we as consumers and female consumers, we are looking for modest office wear, workwear. Definitely when we get the sunshine or the heat, we want sportswear and swimwear that is in line with our faith, and not compromising how we cover, how we present ourselves to the world. So I think we need to look at and credit players like Modernisa and IDH, the Sustainable Trade Initiative, in how they've expanded. But we have to be realistic and see how there were very few investors in the apparel and modest fashion sector. And again, this is something that Franca brought up. The pandemic further paralysed the industry as fabric manufacturing came to a halt in China, and it disrupted the global downstream in operations. So recorded investments in the clothing sector fell from a score of 7 in 2018 to a 4 in 2019, 2020, which was the start of the pandemic. And that means the number of deals that were successful were reduced. So, I think, according to, global financial reports and the Global Islamic Economy Report, we need that they are expecting modest fashion sector, and certainly the drive for sustainable modest fashion to remain low until our global economy recovers. And going back to the IDH, the Sustainable Trade Initiative, they bring together over 600 companies and governments to drive new sustainable production and trade models in emerging economies. And they reach over 4 million farmers in over 30 countries. We also need to look at successful female entrepreneurs and consider, we as women, are we the way forward? Many women are opting for entrepreneurship across the globe. In fact, data shows that women and men now participate as entrepreneurs equally. So there could be a potential boost of 3 to 6% to the global GDP, and which would rise to almost like $5 trillion. I'm conscious of time, sorry. That there is hope. There's definitely hope. COVID hasn't brought all doom and gloom to the horizon, but one of the Islamic economy drivers is the growth of ethical consumption, and this growth comes from the demand for ethical products. And when I can hear your question, where's it coming from? We've got a large, young and fast expanding Muslim population with Islamic values, and these values are driven by lifestyle practices. According to PEW Research Centre, it's a forum on religion and public life, the global Muslim population reached 1.9 billion in 2019, and it's expected to grow twice as fast as the overall world population. So there'll be a 70% increase in the world's population from 2015. There was a global study by Nielsen, and it indicated that 66% of consumers are willing to pay more for ethical, sustainable products. So we need to pay attention to this as modest fashion brands, that people, if our products are ethical, people are willing to pay more for them. So they found that younger consumers are more committed to being ethically aware, with 73% actually of millennials willing to pay more. So we need to tap into this psychology of the ethical young Muslim consumer. And part of the the Global Islamic Economy Report and my previous work, has recognised the consumer, the rising star, as Generation Z, which comes before the millennials. Generation Z would be my children and other people who have kids in their teens, etc. They're born in the era of the smartphones. They're creative. They want to be entertained. They have ethics of supporting climate change. They want to be a positive change globally, and they're all on apps like Netflix, TikTok, you name it. That it's a trend. They're the modern generation, and they're out there. And I learn about all of these things from my children. I have to keep up if I want to understand what they're going on about and be accepted into the conversation at home. But Generation Z, which is also known as the iGen or Homelanders, for example, they're all the post-millennium crowd. We have to recognise that they're going to take their place in marketers' spotlight right after the millennials themselves. So Generation Z are holding these companies to a higher standard when it comes to social impact, and they're loyal to brands that don't just promise, but they prove to meet their goals, and rooted in ethical and sustainable core values, while adapting to advancing technology. So hence me saying, you know, are these, you know, are we embracing modern technology? Are we moving our stores online? Are we making our goods accessible to everybody from the ease of the tap of a phone? You know, we as fashion designers and business owners need to collaborate. Collaboration is another key word, I think, in terms of the growth of the modest fashion market, and also the implementation of sustainability in the modest fashion market. We need to collaborate with each other, and we do need to learn from Western giants like H&M and Uniqlo, who, okay, yes, they've run away with that thread of popularity, that modest fashion is hip and trendy, but when we look at how they operate, they've implemented a blueprint for how their companies are run from the beginning of a garment's inception to its final destination in the store. And they've made this information transparent for everyone to access, and we should take advantage of it. And if our own modest fashion companies tap into sustainability of their brand and consider human well-being, economic well-being, and the fashion supply chain itself, it'll help to build up modest fashion's eco-image. And it will therefore, in my opinion, reach a wider range of ethical consumers while promoting and enhancing their own brand image. I mean, that's, you know, obviously that's a whole other discussion on marketing, but, you know, the benefit for consumers is that they're buying sustainable fashion, which taps into their psychological needs to express attitudes of sustainability and equality. So, you know, sustainable modest fashion, in my opinion, is predicted to grow rapidly and have a real impact on not only the Islamic economy, but be the catalyst for, you know, blurring the lines between the global economy and the Islamic economy and earning their place on the global economic stage. We need to consider that, like Indonesia, we need government initiative to support the ideas and the businesses that we're creating and running. We need to embrace that there is growth in collaboration. You've got a lot of UK companies that are fashion companies that are collaborating with beauty companies. Again, the whole beauty industry in the global economy and the Islamic economy are making that breakaway from animal testing, and, you know, everybody wants the vegan stamp on their product. So we need to embrace that. We need to talk about, like Mr. Hassan over at the beginning of our convention talked about halal certification. You know, I've been in lots of business meetings where we talk about the certification of what is halal, but have we considered this cross certification of halal and vegan, which accommodates both sectors and would reach out to a wider audience? So I think, you know, I hope I haven't been too convoluted with my, you know, run on of like facts and figures, etc. But I really do believe that it's not hard for us to make that switch in our businesses. It's not difficult for us to market ourselves and enhance the information that is out there. Like I've just said, you know, you've got a whole buyer's audience of a young generation that are conscientious of what they buy and how long it lasts. And we need to be considerate of this and how we can accommodate this in our manufacturing methods and what we produce, what goes into the magazines, what goes onto the media, what are we saying about the globe and the environment, and what is the message we want to give as Muslim business owners. So there's lots of avenues that I could go on to discuss, and if anybody wants to contact me and talk further, pointed in the right direction. I am passionate about ethics and sustainability, and I think as global citizens, that Muslims, this is the way forward for all of us. I hope that's been a help to everybody, and I thank you for being patient and listening to me. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you so much, Hajra, for joining us and presenting a very great talk. And it's an honorable for us that you join us from London, and you present a very good talk. Thank you very much. Now our next honorable speaker is John Iman Montar. She is the Modest Fashion Advocate and the Director of Modest Fashion and Designers Council in the Philippines. John Iman is the journalist, entrepreneur, and the creative director of Modest Fashion Designers, a platform that dedicated for the modest fashion, the first modest fashion movement in the Philippines. It is a multi-verse designer with more than 20 years experience in the different fields, including fashion, hot culture, and Pret a porter, furniture and home decor, jewelry, footwear, bags, and textiles. A serial entrepreneur in RTW clothing and hot culture bridal wear, food technology, and events organizing. Autodidactic and constantly loves to learn new things, and the advocate of modest fashion who inspire others to wear hijab. Thank you so much, Iman, for joining us. And you can share your knowledge on future of fashion and why virtual fashion shows are relevant in our current time.
Thank you, Risa.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Please share your screen and start your presentation.
Actually, most of like things that are related to my topic have been discussed earlier. So I'm just going to share a few, like I'll go straight to the factors why virtual fashion shows are relevant in our current times. So is everybody seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll start now. Well, so the factors that I thought would affect or would encourage more virtual fashion shows in the future are the following. One is the pandemic. Second, target audience. Third, there's the paradigm shift and the change of purchasing behavior of consumers. And number four is the popularity of digital softwares and platforms, and social media. Number five is social activism. And last is the cost and accessibility of using virtual platforms. So I'll just mention quickly about the pandemic and how it really shaped our lives. Although, like 20 years ago, we've already had like digital meetings. We already used digital platforms, but we're not. There was already Skype, right? And in some companies, they do even 3D rooms with like you can have like a virtual meeting, but people are resisting to it. The we've been ignoring this digital resources that we have, and just so that pandemic really forced us to make use of everything, like all the digital resources available, from shopping to even gardening to our schools, and then the meeting and the work and then the entertainment environment. So that's why last year the fashion houses and designers, they all collaborated, and they still managed to showcase runways in a digital on a virtual fashion show form. So yeah, so that's about why the pandemic affected for a virtual, I mean, the fashion shows. Second is the target audience. So it's been mentioned earlier also that most of the people now are digitally oriented. And we have like, according to statistics, it's 30% of the population of the world are online shoppers. And then 40% are gamers, and they are using, actually they're using those games that use skins and avatars. So, and imagine the purchasing power of this people, the gaming population, is they have accumulated about $100 billion, or was it 10 or $100 billion on virtual goods for the last 5 years. So next is the paradigm shift and the purchasing behavior. So where we're using the virtual um, platforms, the pandemic affected that, and we have, you can see, like there's places like Amazon, Alibaba, and Oberlo really change the way we purchase, and we sell things, also including the Facebook marketplace, because we make use of our digital resources. Like people from remote areas can already sell their products online and get rid of the middleman. Before, we usually have like 5 layers of middleman, but now we only have maybe one or two, and that makes and the products cheaper, and also that makes the manufacturer getting what how much they really deserve to be paid for. So, and then yes, and then the digital software and platforms are already becoming popular in our country. We just started having e-boutique, that you can log on to use their app, and then if you have something like you want to have a customized shirt or customized a wedding gown, you can just log on there, and this app actually, it will connect you from the supplier of the fabric. From the fabric supplier, you can choose from there the choices of fabrics, and then from there it will connect to the manufacturer, and then to the what the other things like logistics. So that's, we already have that, and I'm sure in other countries they're already starting that one. And not to forget, we have also if you remember, if you're familiar with Gucci's, how they engage with their customers digitally. So they have the digital catalogs already, so you can see how that dress would look on you if you have this, this type or this body type or this skin color, height, etc. It's already like it's, what do you call that, manipulate I forgot the word, I'm sorry. Anyway, so yes, we already have that. We make use of that, and a lot of people are already forgetting about, are already artists are already using digital softwares to illustrate, and you can already produce a prototype without actually producing it, but produce it virtually, and you'll see exactly how the dress would look like. And I know a lot of people in my field who are doing that, and I'm even interested in learning how they do it. And fifth is the social media, which was already mentioned earlier by Aisha. Yes, and the previous speaker, Hajra. So they're digital. We have the gadgets in our hands. So at the tip of the fingertips can already see information and shop and you know um I forgot. So the digital medium is, we are making use of what we have, the digital resources as the gadgets and as all these social media platforms like Facebook, TikTok, and IG. And it was not even like just 2 years ago when finally, these the big designers decided to join in, because before they were also resisting that social media is a powerful platform, that they they were resisting that to the power of the people when when engaging with their community. So as you can see, how TikTok and IG and how the modest fashion movement took the internet, and how we win and became part of the mainstream fashion for that, for social media. So number six, the social activism. As we know, well, the digital media became a powerful tool, and social activisms are very, it resurrected last year as well, and we were part of it. So we are using the the digital media in addressing our social issues. So like at the end of the day, people are really going to their whatever the digital resources they have, and just connect with people. Number seven is the cost and accessibility. Virtual fashion shows, it might not cost a lot compared to physical fashion shows, because you wouldn't need to have to rent a very, those big spaces, and designers don't need to travel and spend on their plane ticket. but they can still virtually display or showcase their designs through the digital platforms available. And it's getting more convenient, and it's it's more designers can participate. For me, before, I was invited to different fashion shows, but some of them are too far, and I and some of them that it makes the visa is really difficult. The places that it's difficult to go for, like, and so I think that's most of really what I can talk about. So I'm just gonna wrap it all up, and I'll say that it may not be very soon that every fashion shows are going to have are adopting a virtual platform, but it's going virtual platforms are offering like an inclusive environment for creatives and designers for all over the world. And Arisa, I think I'm done, and that's all I'm sharing.
Thank you very much, sister, for your kind presentation. I would like to thank for your valuable talk, and on behalf of AlHuda Center of Modest Fashion Designing, I would like to thank to all the honorable speakers and the chief guest of this virtual forum, Mr. Ehsan Owad, Secretary General of CIMIC OIC, for their kind contribution. So, Raisa, if you are with us, please moderate to the next speaker.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you so much, Iman, for joining us and presenting the very grateful topic. Now, let me introduce a very warm welcome to our next speaker, Dilyara Sedriva from Russia. She is a modest fashion researcher, expert, analyst, modest fashion brands and designers, Modest Monter, and the public speaker. She is the co-founder of Modest Russia and the Council of Modest Fashion Russia and CIS director, consulting, lecturing about modest fashion for mainstream and modest fashion industry. Very warm welcome to you, Dilyara.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. I'm glad to greet all respected organizers, audience, colleagues, speakers. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So, unfortunately, I have some technical problems to show beautiful presentation for you, but so I have to speak without any pics today, but inshallah, I'll have another chance to show you beautiful works of Russian and CIS designers later on. Okay, so much like the rest of the world, Russia is experiencing the rapid rise of the modest fashion trend. It's in 10 top key markets for modest fashion. Consumers, in Russia, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, there is large audience and big consumer potency for modest fashion. So why the trend, as we call it, trend for modest fashion? Because obviously, due to the changes that the global Muslim community is currently going through, as well as the challenges is facing now as well. Globalization and the internet are equally important and contributing factors here. The everyday life of many Muslims and the environment they exist in have changed dramatically, transforming their consumption habits and their outlook as well. As the borders are disappearing, a Muslim woman has to find a way to integrate into society, take part into the social life, and adapt to the new environment while following the precepts of God, precepts of Allah. Naturally, this leads to transformation of Muslim fashion. Moreover, various local fashion peculiarities are vanishing. As the Muslims, just like everyone else, are feeling the push of the unified global mass market, you know, and previous speakers spoke about it a lot. Nowadays, Muslim women are recreating themselves. And those of them who lead active lives need new clothes that would both express their individuality and correspond with the values they believe in. They want to see variety in their outfits, find new combinations, and wear contemporary, relevant, and interesting colors and patterns. There is also newly converted women. For example, in Russia, we have a lot now converted Muslim women who wear modest clothes by choice, rather than because of ancient traditions. And finally, modest clothes attracts more and more adepts from other faiths, as well as secular people. By all means, every country has its own style, and we have representatives here at this forum from many, many countries from different parts of the world. And everybody knows, then can prove that every country has its own style. And as well, and of course, we have it in Russia too. Besides, we have, maybe it will be a surprise for you, but in Russia, we have very, very ancient culture of wearing modest clothes. Russia is a multicultural and multi-religious country, and we have a lot of nations. We have whole big parts in our country with Muslim population. And even when all religions were prohibited during Soviet Union, still people kept to traditions, they still kept to their values, and they still wore modest clothes, and they keep to this tradition now. And now we, of course, as I told you before, internet is influencing everybody, and now we are having new styles. So in different parts of the country, styles differ too. Why I'm talking about it? Because Russian market is now of great interest from many brands from many countries, and I get a lot of requests about it. And for example, if you want to enter another market or Russian market, for example, you should understand peculiarities. You should understand where you can sell your product in a better way. Because in one part, where women wear modest clothes, they prefer certain colors, for example, dark colors. In other parts, they prefer light colors and floral prints, etc., etc. So the tastes and preference differs a lot, and so it will influence what can be sold in a better way, in a more effective way, I would say. Besides, we have many designers and brands, modest fashion brands now. And the first wave, I would say, was about 20 years ago, and we have designers who already created very successful collections even 20 years ago. The second wave started about 10 years ago, like in many other countries. It was like a boom of modest fashion. More and more brands were founded of different styles and contemporary and even luxury brands, casual wear, sportswear, everything. Now we have everything, and a lot of good collections. Talented designers were presented at Modest Fashion Weeks. Several designers were presented at Modest Fashion Weeks at Dubai, in Jakarta, in Amsterdam, and it was of great interest for modest society, because collections are really very interesting and very unique, and you can see a certain style of it. And besides, if you open internet, or you can read about modest fashion worldwide, you can see it was like a break in the ceiling when some Muslim designers were presented at mainstream fashion weeks in New York and London, in other countries. But I know that the first modest fashion collections were presented at Moscow Mercedes Fashion Week. And it was much earlier than in other countries. So as you can see, Russian market and Russian modest consumer is surrounded by stereotypes, most of all. Why I'm talking about, I told you why I'm talking about Russian market today. For you to understand how you can enter it, how you can work successfully here, how you can cater our audience and our consumers, because still we are looking for new style, something new, something special. And though we have our local designers, of course, all consumers are looking for something new, something special, and they are ready to buy from international designers, from designers from other countries. Of course, if the product suits the needs, suits the taste, suits the price segment, etc., etc. By the way, I know that mainstream Russian designers are very popular among king family in Qatar, in Jordan, in other countries. But of course, unfortunately, it's not modest fashion designers. Unfortunately, it's not Muslim designers, it's mainstream designers, but still some of mainstream Russian designers are very popular even among Middle East king families. It's a bit difficult for me to talk now because I wanted to show you, to prove these pics. Okay. If we speak about Muslim consumer, we have whole regions, I told you, where people have been wearing modest clothes and keeping to traditions. It's mostly North Caucasus, maybe you heard it, Chechnya, Dagestan, and other Caucasus republics. It's all Russia, where from 50 to 90% of women population cover here wear modest clothes or hijabi. If we speak about Central Russia, it's Volga region, it's Tatarstan, Bashkortostan, which are also regions with mostly Muslim population. And we have a lot of customers there, and no doubt it's Moscow, because we have a lot of Muslims here and a lot of modest customers in Moscow. As I told you, the big market is Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. So you can consider these countries too. Let's not forget about Russians as itself. We all know that Christians are also adepts of modest style, and we have special modest brands for Christians here that produce clothes according to their vision of modesty. And you understand it's very similar with Muslim. Well, there are some differences, but still it's similar. So we have also emerging brands that manage to use ancient ethnical ornaments and techniques in their clothing with great fineness, combining them with modern style, technologies, designs. We have absolutely stunning luxury brands that one of my favorite brands that was founded in 2004, and it's not a Muslim brand, but its concept absolutely modest, and the design is addressed to ancient Russian and Slav culture and tradition and clothes. You know, their clothes, this brand is very, very popular worldwide, especially in the Middle East. They have a lot of customers from Middle East countries. So if you understand the consumer in other country, if you understand what can be sold, what can be popular, you can work worldwide, not only for local markets. Usually, modest brands are small, pretty small. They don't have resources to enter international markets. But if you research a lot, if you really understand your goals, if you really understand you really understand other markets, or you'd better to choose not just enter all countries and all markets. You should choose step by step and to find the right place, the right country, and the right customer for your product. So to understand Russian modest market better, we founded a modest fashion hub, Modest Russia. This is the platform that unites all modest fashion players at the international level: designers, manufacturers, consumers, modest style adepts. And having the strongest experience, because I am in modest fashion more than at about 20 years already, and as a business more than 10 years. So, and I can see how modest fashion and Muslim fashion, first it was Muslim fashion, then it became modest fashion, how it was developing all these years. which brands appeared and disappeared, why they die. Unfortunately, we have a lot of small brands that are not that are not professional enough, and they die very, very quickly. They are not competitive. And the main thing I would like to say, that a modest fashion brand should be more professional. They should grow professionally, because this is the weak point of all modest fashion brands, and that's why they can't be competitive. They can't be competitive with mainstream brands. So to grow professionally is the main thing, and of course collaboration, supporting each other, as we have gathered together here to support each other, to exchange information, and information is also very important, and truthful information, not what you read or somebody read in internet about modest fashion, not what they think modest fashion is or modest fashion business is, but what is the it's very important to understand the reality, our strong points and our weak points. So only getting adequate information and truthful information, you can grow, you can develop, you can do business. That's what the main thing I would like to say. We also have educational fashion platform that include modest fashion at their programs. I'm teaching, lecturing there too, trying to explain, to understand real needs of the consumer, because everybody wants modest consumer, but very less people understand real needs of them. Very less people accept their role model. A lot of stereotypes. So now we have to educate. So we also have several events devoting to modest fashion as who are interested in, as in the frame of mainstream events and expos, and especially it can be interested for designers and brands. And we also have B2C events. Some brands can participate there too, because who are interested just to check the market, to see the real customer. And after this, you can decide, is it worth for you to enter this or that market or not. It's not just about Russia. I think it's about all markets, all international markets. We have also here big online retail platform, the biggest in Russia, and I think it's the biggest. It's called Wild Breeds. I think it's one of the biggest in the world already, because now they are in different countries already, and they have a special section. It used to be called modest fashion, but then they separated Muslim clothes and Christian clothes. So maybe because not all understand here what modest fashion is. So they decided to define clothes for Muslims and clothes for Christians. So to sum up, some tips for those who want to sell in other countries, not only in Russia, of course. You should produce regular collections in which a significant number of modest pieces, not limited by certain occasions. Collection not shouldn't be tied only to a region or some ethnical group. Collection should be consumer focused, and you should understand the real needs of this or that consumer. So think before producing something, what problems you decide, what consumer problems you decide by your product. And the cost of products shouldn't be higher than similar ones on this market. And you should have unique competitive product, of course. And also, your product should be easily deliverable to customer and available all over the world. Only in this case, you can sell in Russia or in any other country if you want to enter international markets. So I think this is the main thing I wanted to tell you today, because most of the things I wanted to share with you was connected with PICS, and not seeing it, it's difficult for me to understand, for you to understand, just talking about it. So that's, I concentrated on business aspects more than on culture, because still culture should be visible. Culture should be seen, because it's useless to speak about it. But now you know that we have market, we have consumers, we have ancient culture of modest clothes here in Russia. We have events, we have platforms. If you are interested in, so you are welcome. We are here to support each other. We are here to share relevant and truthful information with each other, with colleagues. I will repeat, only using truthful, relevant, adequate information, not from internet, not from Google, not from the articles that journalists write about modest fashion. You can do this business. Thank you so much. I hope the information was useful.
Thank you very much. Yes, please.
Somebody asked about LinkedIn. Unfortunately, LinkedIn is blocked in Russia, but I'll do my best to enter it to other providers.
Thank you very much, Sister Alima, for such a wonderful.
I'm Dilara, but this is the wrong account. I couldn't enter by my account from a computer, so I used another account through telephone to join the conference. So my name is Dilara.
Dilara, okay. Thank you very much, Dilara, for such a wonderful talk. I really appreciate what you have been spoken about the development of modest fashion industry in Russia and other CIS countries, including Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. And basically, let me give you some background. We are from the group of AlHuda, Center for Islamic Banking and Economics. And we are working for the development of Islamic finance industry in CIS countries from last 16 years. We have been working in Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Russia, In Russia, we work in Dagestan and Kazan. And
Mhm.
in 2 months later, we have a one forum for Islamic finance, CIS forum for Islamic finance in Tashkent. So
Mhm.
thank you very much to give your insight about the modest fashion industry in that region. And we will definitely learn from your vision and your work for modest fashion industry. Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, I'd
Wonderful.
like just to add about Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. They
Hmm.
used to wear more traditional clothes, their national clothes, but now they are looking for some new, more contemporary style.
Yep.
So now,
Mhm.
yes, so the market is growing now, but it just started growing
Mm.
not long ago, because religion was not supported there, though it's Muslim country,
Mhm.
it's Muslim population, but still religion is not supported there.
Okay,
So the
yes.
consumer is looking for like some new look, not to look too traditional, not to look too religious, but still keep trying to keep to religion.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much for your talk. By the way, I'll be in Kazan end of this month for the Kazan summit. If you will be around,
Yes,
definitely
yes,
we will.
I'll be a speaker and moderator of Modest Fashion Forum there. So
Okay, I'll be.
we can meet yet. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, sister. Thank you, Jazakallah. So, Raisa, you have to moderate the our next honorable speaker. But before to
Mhm.
the next speaker, I would like to add that from next month, AlHuda Center of Modest Fashion is going to start a virtual internship program for modest fashion industry. That is the 2 month free internship program. The people who are interested to join us in the modest fashion internship program, they are warmly welcome. My colleague, Ms. Raisa, will share all those details with you. And unfortunately, today I have some traveling and I stuck in different airports and unable to present my presentation, but I am sure in any next forum, I'll be in communication with you. Now, Raisa, this is over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your kind words. Now, I would like to invite our most talented speaker, Edison Rukayat. She is the founder of Pearls by Ray brand. Edison Rukayat is the fashion entrepreneur with the 7 years experience in the fashion designing and the garment construction. She is passionate about empowering Muslim women through her clothing line, Pearls by Ray, that currently works in Nigeria. She is a graduate of biochemistry and has worked in the pharmaceutical field. As the founder of Pearls by Ray, she is a certified business administrator. She is a leader who ensures relationship strengthening between staff and management, who has successfully distinguished her brand from other with her creativity. She is a trustworthy and also strive in the excellence. A very warm welcome to you, Edioson. Now the floor is yours. You can start your presentation and tell us about the role of religion in the consumer behavior.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I will be talking about the role of religion in consumer behavior. Religion refers to beliefs, values, and practices that guides our code of conduct or people's behavior. Religion is important in lives of individuals around the world. Some religions and doctrine motivate and increase sales of some businesses, while in other aspects, it decreases the sales of businesses. The main aim of businesses is to make profit from whatever it is that they sell. So business organization aim is to make profit, and the objective is to maximize their returns, and effort is directed towards the aim that will bring in profit. As a Muslim woman, And as a Muslim in general, there are some practice that is halal. There are some things that is haram for us as Muslims. For instance, the kind of food we eat is being influenced by our religion. The likes of pork and dog meat would not sell in an Islamic country. So that's number one. The kind of food we eat is being influenced by our religion, which is Islam. Then another instance that religion plays a major role is the fashion industry. It's Eid al-Azha. It's going to be Eid al-Azha in about a week, and everyone is in rush for their Eid outfits, the way they look, and to the ram sacrifice according to Islam. Fashion, there is an increased demand for modest fashion during this period, and for ram during this period. During Ramadan, there is an increase in demand for gifts because Ramadan teaches us to give out to the less privileged, to share love and show kindness towards another. So during Ramadan, you will see an influx and increase in buying rate for gift items. So another way Ramadan affects, another way religion affects the consumer behavior is for seasonal products. For the Christians during Christmas, they share gifts too, and there is always a greater increase in the way they buy. Just as the same way in Islam, we tend to buy more products during our Eid and festive periods. So there is in another way that religion affects the way things are being consumed is transportation. All things being equal, this is supposed to be Hajj period for Muslims. During this particular period, transportation towards Saudi is increased. There is high demand for transportation towards Saudi because during this period, we perform Hajj. And even in Saudi, the transportation during that occur during that period is increased. Also, another way religion has affected consumer attitude is the impact it has on consumer attitudes is in 2020 when there was this issue about someone who made a caricature picture of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Turkey president asked everyone to boycott French products because what that instance that happened is an insult to our religion. And a lot of us did boycott the product. A lot of people did boycott their product. During that period, they recorded a decreased amount of purchase during the period, which eventually affected their own economy. That is what happened. When people buy, it increased the value of the economy, it boosts the economy system. But if the reverse occurs, eventually it's going to affect the economy. What I mean by boycott is a situation where consumers stop purchasing a particular item from manufacturer to express their disapproval about a certain situation that has occurred or that has happened. So another way religion has affected the way we buy is in our dressing. In Quran 24 verse 31, Allah has commanded us to wear our hijab and observe modesty. And in any Islamic country, the modest fashion would always be on top. You would not find whoever is making dresses that are not in accordance with the Islamic values, the Islamic belief and perspective, will always have the business affected. For instance, it's Eid al-Adha, regardless of whatever way we perform our Islam before Eid al-Adha, everyone will strive towards pleasing Allah during this period in manners, in our outfits, in showing kindness towards one another, in showing love towards one another, coming together with other Muslims across the world or in your community is very certain. So during this period, items that are products that will help and aid kindness, togetherness, and showing festivity of Muslim during this period will always be on the increase. And this is where business owner must leverage in and make use of this opportunity, schedule their businesses such that this particular period will favor them, and they will record a very high increase profits during this period. So religion always affects what we wear and the manner in which we talk, because Islam always emphasizes on being modest in every way, being modest in every way. Another way religion has impact on us is investment. During Ramadan, a lot of Muslims, we all do fast. Let's assume we all fast during that period. There's a decreased rate during fasting period of food items because we are fasting, obviously, and we do not eat. But we value, there's just, what would I say? There's always a reflection during that period that shows that we really want to obey Allah and we really want to strive to please Allah. So everything that's put during the day, it's a no for us until iftar period. Until iftar period, there is always an increase in investment during this period because we always want to run away from whatever it is that would displease Allah, whatever it is that we've been doing before then that we know is not pleasing Allah enough. We always run away from it, and it increases our source of wealth, thereby making a lot of people to invest their wealth in ways that will be profitable, that will bring in more money for them during the period. This is from a result from Yusuf that he performed, and he was able to use 11 countries as a source of his research, which shows that there's always an increase in investment during this period because we reflect on the teachings and the saying of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, instead of a lot of activities that we do engage in on a normal day. Then another way there is an impact of religion on us is in the entertainment industry. For it, we have a lot of Muslim channels simply because we really want to listen. We want channels that will remind us of Allah. We want channels that will continue to inspire us to be good Muslims. We want channels like Islam channel that will continue to talk to us about Allah, about Islam, and about doing good deeds in general for us to end the afterwards, for us to end Jannah, for us to be counted among the servants of Allah. So in a nutshell, if you watch other channels like 2 or 3 times in a week, for instance, then you should know that Islam channel or other channels that will remind you of Allah should be more and more than what other channels will teach you of this dunya. So, and alhamdulillah, Islam channel, other channels are striving so hard to balance the scale, to give you content that will really make it worthwhile for you to watch their channel. Having known that religion plays a major role, religion is what guides our affairs, our behavior as humans. For a lot of us, religion plays an important role. If Islam says this is not it, a lot of us will definitely desist from it. If Islam says this is allowed for you, a lot of us will definitely go for it because Allah has permitted us to do it, to do such things. When you want to eat, when you're consuming food, one of the very essential things to look at is that, is this particular product halal? Am I not committing sin if I ingest this particular product? So this is a way, and this is a way, this is one way that food companies, they try to entice and draw the Muslims as their customer by putting halal products on their product, because they know if it is not halal, we are not going to buy. So this has influenced the way the food industry would present their products to us as Muslims, because of course we Muslims carry the largest percentage of religion in the whole world. And it's a good opportunity for business owners to leverage on this and know when to increase their production and how to plan their production so as to suit the religion in which they are, the religion in which they are, the market in which they are looking for. I'm a modest fashion designer, and this period is a critical period for me because I know Eid al-Adha is on its way, and a lot of people would definitely want to do good. A lot of people would definitely want to look their part. So I have scheduled my business structure such that it will definitely be in favor of us as a fashion brand during this period, increase our production and our productivity, and try as much as possible to give designs that will definitely give Muslims, women, the best out there. So it's a great one for other business owners to leverage on this period when you know there will be an influx and an increase in production, so as to maximize profits and minimize loss. So that's all I have on the role of religion on consumer behavior. It definitely plays a huge impact on the way consumer behaves. Thank you. Hello? Hello?
Yes, Edison.
Okay, thank you. That's all for now.
Thank you so much for your excellency and the great presentation. And thank you so much for your precious time, your availability at our forum, and your talk about the Modesty Fashion. You present well, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to invite our today's special guest, Meenu Prasad. She is the principal of Institute de Moda, Bargu, Qatar. Meenu Prasad is the well-qualified fashion educationist and the fashion designer with more than 10 years of the experience in the fashion industry. She is a fashion design graduate and studied from the most reputed fashion school of India, National Institute of Fashion Technology. She began her career with working with one of the leading business house at Paris and the fashion designer and senior merchandiser. Later, she moved on working with the popular international clothing brands like Zara, Ted Baker, UK Tommy Hilfiger, etc. She wrote many fashion design assessments for Trent University, UK, which was catered by Naila. And very warmly welcome to Ms. Meenu Prasad. Please share your expertise about the modest fashion with our audience.
Thank you so much, Raisa. I'm very honored that I'm the part of this forum. This topic of modest fashion has always interested me, and I'm glad that I have got an opportunity today to speak about it. I think half of my points are already been covered by most of the participants and most of the speakers. So I would not take much time, but quickly share my screen and talk about how I hope all can see my screen.
Yes,
So I
your
will
screen
quickly
is.
talk about, yes, I hope everybody can really see my screen. Okay, so modest fashion, as we have talked, a lot of important thank to all the speakers because they have come up with really valuable points. And I thought that since everybody is already talking about very crucial topics on modest fashion, to sum up the whole forum, I would, since I'm in the last, so I thought I'll sum up it, and we'll talk about a little bit how now the latest fashion is trending over, and what are the differences and new things we are weaving out. What are the new fashion, what is the latest changes you could see in modest fashion. So I will go just one by one quickly. Like, the summers are there, and of course spring summer collection is always out. Name it, not in modest fashion but different genres of fashion. But if you see like a prominent style of modest fashion from previous years also, and even hitting back this year also after having a hard time in pandemic, you would see there is still a monochromatic bold colors. There's still a color blocking, and in the pictures which I have just shared, you could still see the scheme of monochromatic colors. Name it a neutral white or beige or brown tones, earthy colors. So I think these are always been my favorite also, since the working women's, name it, they are still in the Muslim culture or not, they would prefer to go modest and look elegant in their dressing in the workplace. So there's a fine example in these dresses if you see. There is a lot of good trend we have seen because we are running a fashion school in Qatar. So it's always our responsibility that we should guide as students what are the latest coming in the picture for fashion, and they should be always updated, regarding their knowledge about the changes every season summer is bringing in the market. So you could see like a long sleeves, which are very much trending. I think it's not just about modest fashion, but I think if you take any genre of fashion these days, long sleeves have so much variations. I mean, because we are teaching fashion, so I can tell like there are tons of different sleeves ideas, which are modest and on the other hand trendy also. And of course, it depends on selection of choices of textiles or fabrics which you're going through, because you need to take designing about the season you're designing for. Oversized shoulder padded jackets, I think these all are extremely trendy. And then on the other hand, reflecting how modest fashion could have different colors and could have different silhouettes. You can see the example here, like a very sober pastel color suit, and but looks fantastically modest, and you can still go on wearing such kind of trench coat, or such kind of over size sleeves and formal and semi-formal outfits, and they look fantastically elegant while wearing. And on the other hand, they portray how modest the design is. Then on the other hand, puff sleeve. So I think puff sleeve is also something which I think very beautifully done by designers, and you could see like they look elegant and smart. And on the other hand, yes, it really follows the legend of modest fashion. Then I will go with sweatshirts with formal wear. So I think yes, it's always trendy. I would see this style more over UK and Canada. I think you would see such kind of trend where you would see like long, beautiful long silhouettes of skirts paired up with beautiful, shirts, or with long sleeve sweatshirts, and they look extremely elegant. And as I said, that it is more like a semi-formal outfit, So you can definitely wear it as full formal as well in your office. And they look extremely trendy. Then, of course, the full-fledged dresses. So the plus-size dresses, or rather, dresses which definitely follow the regime of modest fashion. They are a unique example where you can say that they are beautiful color selection, and on the other hand, different silhouettes and variation you could see. They are definitely following the regime of modest, but on the other hand, equally looking extremely fashionable. And I think these days in 2021, everybody would like to have long dresses and they look superbly nice. One size dress. So I think, yes, the one size dress is must big style nowadays, because I'll send you oversized sweatshirts, oversized dresses. All this is now a trend, and you would see it as a street style back in US and other foreign countries as well. And on the other hand, if you see, they are still following the modest, but then on the other hand, it looks extremely nice and fashionable. The big jeans trend, or the wide leg pants. So I think pants are always like, always kept as it's always like a duo in your wardrobe. I think most of us will gonna have like an elegant trouser, and nowadays the wide trousers and long wider fitted trousers are again back, as we have seen that trend going on in 60s, but now you can see again this baggy trousers and loose fitted trouser, or probably like a straight fit trousers are very much trending over, and they do reflect a beautiful modest fashion if they are paired up with nice full sleeves, different designs of blouses. Uh, yes, there is always a contradiction when we talk about twinkles and sparkles and sequins. But yes, if you see really in Cosmopolitan and the runway, there are people who are elegantly designing costumes and ready-to-wear garments, and they are keeping the silhouettes very modest. I would not say that the colors are modest, but on the other hand, the silhouettes are still kept modest. So you would still feel the influence of modest fashion, even in all types of runway these days. And as we know, it's a really, really big market. No more like previous. And I think from last few years, it is very much trending all across. Even I agreed with the Dilyara, and I agreed with Aisha and all these people who have been speaking about it constantly, that market was very much there from past few years. But the highlight has been more from past 5-6 years, I would say. The more highlight is there now, and the concentration. Back trends, I think modest fashion, uh, name it as a one genre of fashion, but your look is never complete without the accessories. Of course, there are bags and all, you can always pair them. And there are a lot of sustainable accessories nowadays, which modest fashion would love to couple up with, so it's always trending that way. And even the circular shaped style handbags, and very elegant handbags which really complement your modest outfit. This is a referral example which I'm showing here. So there are some referral example like Botica, this is one brand, then Jolly, this is one brand. So this is like a content which I referred from these brands, and you can see how beautifully they are doing even the collections in hijab. And these brands are of course new, not very much old in the market, but whatever they are doing is exceptionally beautiful, because they are bringing new designing sense, new innovations, and it's no more longer restricted to one bold statement of modest fashion. So these are few examples. And here a very important, I would like to share, I'll just going to open my Google here because it's very important now to show what I'm talking. As we are from Qatar, and a beautiful, like a fashion icon, if I just write like a fashion icon of Qatar, you would see Johanna Sheikha Moza, and she has been the perfect example and the blend of fashion, where you could see she's wearing beautiful modest clothing and giving us a chance to follow her, because her dressing is like absolutely stunning, modest, and to be cared off. And as I think Dilyara has already mentioned, that they are all royal people, they are all coming from royal families. But their dressing, they've been catering from different designers. They are not completely modest, as Dilyara mentioned, but then kind of influenced from a modest outfit. And they look like extremely elegant. If you see her red outfit also here, and like she is a great statement where she's even whatever outfit she's wearing from brands like Chanel and like different big brands, Dior or whatever, she carries it so beautifully, and it looks elegant. On the other hand, it states how modest fashion can really look elegant and nice when you're going. So I think it's about how you're styling your outfit, and on the other hand, how you are presenting your image. Another big example is like there is a photo which I just opened here now, and it's called the photo reflects like Hia Fashion Arabian. So this is one of the beautiful exhibition from years Qatar is doing, and we are also constantly from few years connected with them, presenting some master classes, supporting the designers to study with us. So this is a platform in Qatar which is very, very I would say interesting platform, which gives altogether a lot of I would say like a lot of examples to the young talent and designers, that there are varied platforms which Qatar is really creating for upcoming innovative people, and they are very much in love with arts and other cultural and traditional things, that they are always promoting such kind of things. So I think that way we love our country here. And as I mentioned to you that yes, definitely, as I mentioned you, Hair Fashion Arabian is the modest platform. I think there are more than 250 participants from GGC coming and participating and showcasing their talent. And it is completely, the setup is followed with the traditional and cultural regime. And of course, it is also reflecting the modest fashion on the other hand. So I think there is not even one chance when Qatar is not representing that we are in some way the modest fashion, and it is becoming more iconic when the royals are really wearing in front of us. I think being a dean and a principal of our school, which is from Milan, Instituto di Moda Burgo, we are a franchise from Milan head office, and this is a Milan based school which is a franchise body here in Qatar. We are actually promoting vocational training in fashion, and currently I am already looking forward to introduce some master classes and awareness program regarding the modest fashion, because this is something which really need to be taken care of, and people need to get a proper awareness about it. At some point of time, when there is a good ample amount of awareness among the followers, I think this will become a more hit show in future in term of fashion. Yes, we know that last year was extremely tough, and it was not easy, but we need to educate our designers, the upcoming young generations, that how the modest fashion works. And I think we are working already on this kind of thing. So inshallah, you would see such kind of ads in our Instagram and website portals. And as I mentioned, that yes, it's always a give and take relationship. We all are here. I think we should all just share our contacts and Instagram pages and try to support each other in raising the awareness of this beautiful genre of fashion. And last but not the least, I think, as I said, that fashion is revolutionary. We have been into this field from like past so many years. I've been educating like so many talented students all across the globe. Obviously going through a lot of fashion shows and trade shows and runways. And I still feel there is a huge corner of, there's always a huge corner of adding this particular category on a different versatile manner, because I feel at some portions of globe it's very been overlooked, but at some portion of globe still I think modest fashion is not carried away. So we feel that it's always an exchange of ideas and an exchange of support from all the people who support this. In fact, I will be honestly telling you experience that last exhibition when I had hosted in Qatar, I have been wondered when I seen that there are halal products, there were halal food, there was halal skincare, and of course the dresses as a modest fashion. So I feel it is slowly coming down now. But as I said, that it needs to get into the more on the awareness track. And AlHuda, I would appreciate this gesture by you people, because I think it's a very great initiative which you guys are providing the platform to students and worldwide people to connect and learn more about it. Because there are a lot of potential designers who might get a ray, a sunshine, to look over this genre and opt in design. And here I think in our Qatar, we do have courses like abaya making and Arab costume making and all that. But specifically talking about modest fashion, we haven't started yet. So now I think we are already in progress to develop such curriculum. And inshallah, very soon you would see and you can connect with us as well. And obviously, as I said, modest fashion has become an extremely broad spectrum now, because before even you tell the students to design something, they need to know the lyrics, the cultural values, the tradition, because our motive is not to hurt any cultural or sentimental, but to appreciate them through our design and innovation. So I feel this is always a way of teaching students here or globally, anyone who is fashion enthusiast or name it a Muslim or a non-Muslim, no matter. I think this has already become a great global gesture for all around, as the industry is growing day by day. And yes, I do agree with a lot of speakers today that yes, if we combine the eco-friendly and sustainability and recycling of clothing, and then we turn up promoting modesty, it will be more better content and great hit. And I think we should support all this. They are very cohesive, they are very tied up. So I'm sure all this is very important. I'm extremely thankful to all the other speakers that way, because they have come up with those very important points which are always taken in consideration when we talk about modest fashion. I don't know, like, I feel my personal opinion, whenever I go and attend any seminars or forums, I always say that, each genre of fashion has distinct qualities, and as if I talk about this, it's not new at all. It is very much in the legacy before, but it has never come on the board on picture on a higher level. But now it is our own responsibilities who really keen to support this system and really keen to support this genre of fashion. They should try to, put their effort in some way to make this success. And last but not the least, even if you talk here in Qatar, there are a lot of designers. Like, for example, there was some sister duo who have come up with the resort collection, but it was completely modest. And they've got a really great response. So I feel we need, inshallah, as an institution, we will also try to produce many modest fashion designers in future. And it's our duty that, we are not just overlooking only at few sections. We are sitting in a very privileged and extremely nice country where, especially talking about where I'm sitting right now in Qatar, it's a blooming country, the already on the board. So many progressive things are going on in the country, and they are the management back in country, the government back in country, it's extremely supportive, and they are already supporting such kind of gestures like Fashion Trust Arbia, initiated under the legacy of Sheikha. And then there are a lot of other things like M7. So there are a lot of initiative already going on where they're trying to create a design district, to give more chance to the people who are looking forward to have some support to kickstart their businesses in fashion. So I feel that way our country doing very well. But yes, as I said, it's never too late. We still all have to connect with each other to support and bring this more as awareness to the world. And I'm sure after this, all of us would try to give our own gesture to it and try to, support this gesture to different places, different, places, different seminars, wherever we get an opportunity. I think we should try to promote this in all possible platforms. So thank you so much. I think I'm sure all of you have really listened me patiently. And we wish you all luck for all the speakers. And thank you, AlHuda Center of Modest Fashion, for inviting me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Meenu Prasad, for your availability, and we are very grateful that you took time from your busy schedule to address our audience. Thank you very much. It's a very great honor for us that you joined from your busy schedule. Now, I would like to hand over the speaking slot to Abdullah Inayat, the representative of AlHuda Center of Modest Fashion. He will represent our center on the behalf of Mr. Zubair because he is facing some traveling issues, so he couldn't be able to join us furthermore. So, Abdullah Inayat, please share your screen and present our center.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope my voice is clear to all of you. And today I'm very happy that we have all come together and just for the promotion of modest fashion and this industry. And I'm very heartily pleased and honored that all of the industry professionals, all of our speakers have joined us, and that we can readily communicate with each other and hopefully partner. So first off, AlHuda Center of Modest Fashion has been doing all it can to promote modesty in industry as well as the whole world. So I'd like to give some introduction to what AlHuda Center of Modest Fashion aims to do, what it is doing, and what it will inshallah be doing in the future. So first off, I think we have all listened to what our speakers have said, our honorable and most gracious speakers about modesty, but I would still like to give a brief, just a bit brief introduction of the term modesty, which is derived from the Latin word modest, which means keeping within maya. And a non-adherent and non-transparent clothes that cover a large part of the body and respects the religious dictations is normally termed modest fashion. So what is the Quranic ayah about modest fashion? So I've mostly seen people to be talking about the business side of things. They want to talk about business, how the industry is going, but most people don't talk about the religious side. So just one thing that I would like to add in this from this Quranic ayah, that, O children of Adam, we have set down to you clothing to cover your shame, and clothing of beauty, and clothing that guards against evil. That is the best. This is of the communications of Allah, that they be mindful. So some statistics about modest fashion, that it is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it has went from $283 billion to $322 billion actually, and it is a blooming industry. And I'm sure that all of the experts have presented really well on this matter, and I would not like to present any more or spend any more time to tell you again and again what our honorable speakers have just said. But the sector has seen enormous growth with 4.8 to 5.1% growth in the times of the pandemic. So what are the future trends and opportunities that modest fashion presents? So a national development centered around modest fashion will facilitate growth across the board. Of course, the introduction of omni-channel shopping through COVID-19 could lead to increased revenue growth post-crisis, and I'm sure that fintech could really help modest fashion industry to develop itself, and will really make the industry move forward. Ecosystem development has been beneficial for creating awareness of modest fashion as a sustainable industry, and social impact development has increased as modest fashion brands improve their sustainability and ethical practices, as well as actively support causes through their business. And I hope that in the near future, environmentally, the modest fashion would be focusing on green technology and clothes that are manufactured while keeping the environment in their mindset. Here are some of the key modest fashion indicators which shows which countries are doing really well in terms of the sector of modest fashion, which is UAE, Turkey, Italy, Singapore, France, China, Malaysia, India, Sri Lanka, and Morocco. And it is also a great phenomena to see that not only is modest fashion being promoted in Muslim nations, it is also being accepted into non-Muslim countries. AlHuda Center of Modest Fashion has the aim to globalize the concept of modest fashion beyond the religious misconceptions and to initiate a product line in the respective field, which we'll be doing in the near future, inshallah. Our mission is to create concept and spread the knowledge of modesty in fashion by conducting research and development, training, capacity building, events, publications, and providing consultancy to brands so that they can promote modesty in the fashion industry and serve Muslims according to the values of Islam. And this was our second event and first forum, and I really hope that you all had insightful and valuable gainings from this, and we all were able to network as well as create awareness about modesty. So these are our services that I've just explained to you, and inshallah we will be doing publications and events for you real soon, and I hope that we can collaborate in the near future. So I am very pleased to announce, and I'm sure that you all heard Mr. Zubair Mughal, our CEO, who announced our global virtual internship program in modest fashion. It will be a virtual mode of teaching and communications, and its eligibility are both undergraduates and graduates can apply of fashion design, textile design, or the arts related field. The duration will be of 6 weeks, and the last date has been just extended to July 20th, 2021. For applications, you can visit info@alhudasite.com or visit our website and tap the Center of Modest Fashion column. So what was the idea behind a virtual internship? I mean, we could have gone for straight for the industry, but we went for the internship as well. And so it's like we want to empower fresh and talented youth such who are enthusiastic enough to gain knowledge and enhance their skills and implement their learning for the promotion of modest fashion industry. As we all know, that fashion has been taught as a subject, as a profession, as an art all across the world, and Milan has been the fashion capital of the world, and I hope that inshallah one of our own Muslim countries will be the modest fashion capitals of the capital of the world, and we will be able to promote modesty throughout the world. And in the recent pandemic situation, AlHuda started this virtual internship program with our sister concerns Halal Research Council and AlHuda Center of Islamic Banking and Economics. Both of these have been combined, the combined efforts that we have put in have now borne fruit, and we have actually just completed 4 batches each of the virtual internships. This, as you can see on this slide, that the global industry internship program have facilitated 2,500 students that were otherwise unable or were facing difficulties to get reasonable or professional experience. And we have conducted 209 trainings and webinars. The webinars have been mostly for free, and the paid trainings have been provided for free to the interns as well. The participants have been from 125 countries, which includes the distance learning programs, the interns, and the foreign participants. And our global outreach has just exceeded 1 million people, alhamdulillah. So as I previously mentioned, these are the interns of batch 1 of 2020. Now we have just completed, alhamdulillah, batch 4 of both Halal Research Council and Center of Islamic Banking and Economics. So I'm also very pleased to announce our distance learning program, which has been long our method of communications, of teaching, of spreading the knowledge, as I've just mentioned in our vision and the mission, to promote modesty and all that we think and hold dear according to Islam, and promote modest fashion in the world. This course will be of 4 months duration. The number of modules will be 2. One duration will be of 2 months each, which makes a total of 4. The 4 courses will be taught, and anyone interested can contact us for further details, and we will be inshallah sharing details of this course to you by email. This is a highly structured and innovatively designed distance learning program with an interactive methodology under the supervision of renowned professors, and I'm sure that some of the experts from our panel today will also be contributing inshallah with this, and the trainings will be conducted as well, and I hope that the professionals such as you will also be cooperating with us in the near future. So these are some of our brands: Kaful Consultancy Wing, Sukuk, Center of Excellence in Microfinance, Halal Research Council, Islamic Microfinance News, True Banking, and of course our latest edition, Center of Modest Fashion. Thank you so much. Our email has been stated here. It is info@alhudasite.com. You can save it, you can contact us, and we are looking for business partnerships with industry experts who are willing to teach, to spread knowledge, to gain knowledge, and spread modesty in fashion world and across the world in general. Thank you so much. I hope that we will all be collaborating in the future, and I really hope that we will be inshallah conducting another event in this regard. And I will like to thank all the staff, Mr. Zubair Mughal, who unfortunately could not be with us, but it is his vision and mission that has been leading us. And Ms. Raisa, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to represent my organization, and thank you for your wonderful moderating session. Jazakallah and Assalamu Alaikum.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdullah, for presenting a great presentation. Now we are going to conclude our session. On the behalf of AlHuda Center of Modest Fashion, I want to place a very big thanks to all honorable speakers, including Mr. Ehsan Awad, Franca Suidia, Farida Effendi, Ms. Neenu Prasad, Aisha Nancy, Roshan Isaac, Hajra Khan, John Iman, Diliara, and Edioson. I want to express my gratitude to all the speakers for the excellent coverage of this whole session over Modest Fashion Forum. We all are inspired by your great words and outstanding presentation. I hope this session was very fruitful for all, and we are always welcome for the media partnership, for a strategic partnership, and we are organizing we will organize some different events in near future, so we will collaborate with you all for the biggest events in near future. Thank you so much for your patience and the collaboration, and now have a good evening, and thank you so much.